Haarp, the applications of mind control, brainwave manipulation, and behavioral engineering. What I would like for you to get, and the whole reason for me doing this show, and what I would like for you to get from this program is knowledge, right? Just being aware of such realities do exist. So you will learn, you will hear a lot of knowledge. I don't know how much you'll learn, right? It depends on your level. Some people will learn a lot. I think everyone is going to walk away saying, "I did not know that," at least, right? And that's the hope. And at best, even if you knew this stuff, then you have confirmation that it's not you. You're not bugging at all, right? My name is Jamel Saladin. This is the Pokerfaced Society. Um, I just want to do some house cleaning before I start. Number one, I don't know why this application does it. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't, right? It will just unsubscribe you from whoever you subscribe to randomly, right? It doesn't. I don't know. It happened to me several times, right? So what I would like for you to do is make sure that you are subscribed to me, right? Just even if you think you know that you are like, no, no, I'm definitely subscribed to Saladin. Don't assume you are subscribed to me because you you're a loyal subscriber in your head, right? YouTube has a way of just choosing random people and unsubscribing them. It doesn't matter. I don't know how it happens. The second thing I would like is a lot of people they do hit the notification button, but for whatever reason the notifications aren't sent out. So what you have to do is you have to click it and like redo it over again. Just make sure you redo it again. Just make sure you redo it again. All right. We're not going to hesitate. We're going to get right into the program, right into it. Because I have a lot of stuff to cover today. And if by any chance I go over 2 hours, which I know I'm going over 2 hours, we'll do a intermission break and then we'll come back, right? Because there's a lot of information that's out here. Um, original man, peace, man. I see you, man. Thank you for your support and blessings. Thank you. Um, I have video that I'm going to share today. I have audio that I'm going to share today, and a lot of information. I'm excited. I may see calm right now, but I'm excited. So now that the house cleaning is done, for the most part, we will go over some more house cleaning in a second. Um, I want to start with this rubric right here because this is a rubric that was brought to me, just brought to my spirit, and I said, okay, I'm gonna go off of this because whenever you're trying to detangle the matrix, man, it can get very convoluted because it just seems like so confusing. You don't know where you're being attacked and how you're being attacked, but yet somehow intuitively you know you're definitely being attacked, right? So I created this rubric so that we had a better tool and system to understand how we're being attacked, right? So if we break these things down, break down the attack and put them into categories. Is it mind control? Is it semantic manipulation? Which both of those obviously we will be talking about today, right? Semantic manipulation cannot be overlooked. This is when you are expected to use a language, right? But then the language changes on you. The definitions of words change. Um, the addition of words is added to the language to that has similar meaning to a whole nother word. But then they'll choose to make one word or one phrase, a sentence. Well, not really sentence, but one word more popular than the other. And you're like, yo, I thought these meant the same thing. But they change the terminology popularity on you, so to sense, so to say. I'm just trying to help you understand some of the word semantic tactics that they use. We're gonna go over this today, so it doesn't. Don't worry about it. We're gonna go over mind control. We're gonna go over semantic manipulation. We might hit all four today. Today we might hit all four. Genetic modification. We'll definitely talk about genes and genetic. I think we will. And information censorship. Now, these are the tools that's used for this generation, right? In another 100 years, I don't know if they'll still be using these same tactics, but right now, and there could be more categories, but this will give you a great start to understand. Okay, how am I being targeted? What category does it fall under? And then obviously there's subcategories underneath this, right? So that's just a little rubric. If you're new to my channel, you understand maybe one of the keywords brought you here to my show, and I just want to help everyone understand. My this is not so much about blowing up on YouTube, but this is about getting the knowledge out there, right? That being said, um, we're gonna try to do something different. I don't even want anybody to give to the super chat. If you want to support me, and today I'm asking something different, right? So even for my replay people, I'm asking for something. I'm asking everyone to give a $10 donation, even on the replay. Even on the replay, there's a lot of information that is going to be given today. I'm almost 99.9%. Everyone will walk away saying, at least I learned that. I learned that, right? And this type of information, we want to keep the machine going. So if you feel that you appreciate, and this won't be your last time seeing that bar scan there, right? And what you're looking at right now, that is actually through Stripe. So it is a strong encrypted payment gateway. There's nothing flimsy about it. I cannot see your credit card, but I allow you to put in the amount there. So if you scan that there, you can use any debit card, any credit card, because everyone does not have Cash App. But if you do have Cash App and that's easier for you, then there's your barcode right there. And I am asking everyone to donate $10 to this here recording. Everyone, even on the replay. Now you may be saying, somebody else will get it. He'll get it from somewhere. That's not what I'm asking. I want it from you specifically. I don't want you to say somebody else will give it. He gonna be all right. All right. I think we understand that there, and those will come back up, in due time. Let's get into it. We're starting off our show with Nikola Tesla. Now, I often say to people, there's three men that I really appreciate their contributions to this world, right? And one being my grandfather, I guess he was fortunate to come up in a time where, you know, on in America, it was, in my opinion, I think it was easier to just um, make a living, in my opinion, and take care of your household and this, that, and the third. Things weren't so convoluted, right? Even with the cost difference of wages and everything, but it's still a house back then cost 40 grand. You understand what I'm saying? It's like he bought his house for 40 grand, and this is why I said back then it was a little bit, in my opinion, it was a good time to come up. They had their own problems during that generation. He was in the army. He went to war to see all that other jazz too, right? But after he got home from the army, he became a minister, and he started preaching on the corners until he got himself a church, and then he became pastor of not just that church, two churches. Then they wanted him to build churches around the world, and they flew him out to like the different countries to build these churches. So our belief systems may not have been the same, but he did introduce me to Yahshua, which happens to be the second guy um, that I really do appreciate. Right? You guys call him Jesus, I call him Yahshua ben Joseph, and just the stories about him, you know, is something that I can admire and what I think Yahshua stood for. Right? And then the third guy is Nikola Tesla. For a fact, Nikola Tesla's my man. We'll see his big heart, his big brain, right? First of all, I love intelligence, right? So this guy was, forget about it. Forget about it when you talk about intelligence. He was just talented when it came to intellect. And actually from Croatia, right? And you have two different countries that kind of like claim Tesla. So whether it's the Albanians or the Serbians, um, he came from what is now considered Croatia. He studied electrical engineering. One of Tesla's most famous inventions is the Tesla coil, a high voltage transformer that produces high frequency alternating currents (AC). It is widely used today in radio technology and other applications. And now, I often say to you guys that wireless been around since the 1800s, right? No one pushes back on me because they don't know if I'm telling the truth. But I am telling the truth. In 1990, in 1898, pause, 1998. In 1898, Tesla demonstrated a remote controlled boat at Madison Square Garden in New York City. In 1898, he did this. This is before Marconi. So, and I'm saying this because you're going to read things, right? I hope you're going to read things. You're going to fact check and do all this other stuff, but you're going to hear about this other guy named Marconi, who was like his his rival, right? He salute Santiago. He was like his rival, and you know whether artificial intelligence, because they change around things. You know, don't trust artificial intelligence totally, right? They will lie to you, but whether artificial intelligence or some other means, people try to rewrite history. This is not the first time people are gonna try to rewrite history. I'm letting you know it wasn't Marconi that invented wireless. Years prior, your boy Tesla was out here playing around with wireless way before Marconi. You understand? So he did that at Madison Square Garden. Had a remote, little remote control boats that they use even today at a county fair or something like that. They still using these to this day. Um, his demise was because he tried to introduce free energy or endless supply of electricity all around us. We're going to take a look. We're going to take a listen to how this contributed to his demise. Nikola Tesla did discuss the concept of tapping into what he referred to as free energy or endless supply of electricity all around us. One of Tesla's visionary ideas was the notion that the earth itself could be used as a conductor. This is true, to transmit electrical energy wirelessly, and that electricity could be drawn directly from the environment. This is true. Tesla proposed the construction of a world wireless system. Now, listen, this is early 1900s. We're talking about 1904, 1905. This guy's talking about stuff that they're trying to accomplish right now in 2024. Do you understand me? They're still living off of his ideas. They have tried to put him on steroids. I don't know. I don't think they know what they're doing by far. But they playing around with stuff, as we will see. Is it good for us? Well, you just have to finish this program and you'll figure it out. If it's, you'll make the determination in your opinion, is it good for us or not? But, world wireless systems, one world system of wireless communication, which would use the Earth's natural conductivity to transmit power wirelessly across great distances. He believed that by utilizing the Earth as a conductor and harnessing natural phenomena such as the atmospheric electricity, I said that with emphasis for a reason. You understand? I don't know if you're going to need a pen and pad. You probably will if you take your studies seriously, right? So write down atmospheric electricity. In the Earth's magnetic field, it would be possible to provide electrical power to any point on the globe without the need of wires. This guy was talking that 1800s, early 1900s. And in my opinion, you're talking to a primitive people, right? You're very primitive. I mean, they just released the slaves in 1865. Just. Women still can't vote at this time. So you're still talking to a very, very primitive being. When did it jump? I don't. I mean, I think we'll see when the technology really jumped and was accepted. But when he was introducing a lot of this stuff, he was either being laughed at, or some rich people said, I see what you about. Let me entertain you, because you are very intelligent. Let's entertain you. Let's see what you're about. So all the Harrimans and uh, the Rockefellers and all of them, they courted this guy around. They wanted to get in his brain. But these are capitalists, right? And the reason that Nikola Tesla is one of my greatest inspirations is because he did not purely move off of capitalism, right? He wanted to be well off like anybody. He wanted to be comfortable. Let's say that. He wanted to be comfortable, but he wasn't a capitalist. This is why he died penniless, broke. He submitted a patent. Patent was 787412. 787412. The art of transmitting electrical energy through the natural mediums. I'm giving you the patent number so you can look it up yourself. You understand? The art of transmitting electrical energy through the natural mediums. The intent of the patent was to establish a system for the wireless transmission of electrical power. This patent was in April 18th, 1905, beloved. 1905, right? So never mind all these other people trying to take credit for something that was built off the foundation of Nikola Tesla's intellect. Tesla envisioned using the Earth in its atmosphere. This sentence is big, so pay attention to what I'm saying. Tesla envisioned using the Earth and its atmosphere as conductors to transmit electricity without the need for wires. The system aimed to generate and transmit electrical energy through the ground in the ionosphere, making it possible to deliver power to distant locations efficiently with minimal loss. He wanted to, so basically, he said, yo, we could create electricity out of thin air and give it to the people and redirect it all around the world. For the whole globe, we could do this. It doesn't even have to be just one region. We could do it for the whole globe. And that did not sit well with JP Morgan. Or a lot, not only JP Morgan, but JP Morgan was like, if you had a general during this time, if there was such thing as a general of bankers, JP Morgan was the general of all the bankers, right? Top dog. And he did. Nikola Tesla was able to get his attention. So he definitely got his attention, enough attention for JP Morgan to partner with him. Partner with him and say, okay, I'll be your partner and I will invest. Even though he dripped out the money of his investment, he invested in Nikola Tesla. But then, because I think obviously JP Morgan, he's a businessman, capitalist, right? He wants the money. And I don't think there's anything wrong with capitalism to the extent, to a certain extent. The greed and all of that, there's obviously a problem with greed. But wanting to make a dollar and as much as you can without it being converted to socialism, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, right? If you came up with an idea and then it made a whole lot of money. Usually, though, those people in the past, experiences showed us those people that get so much money to the point where it's like, what else? What else is it going to be? What can I do with this money, right? I got so much money. I got billions. Usually, these people go off into a whole nother realm of life and it no longer feeds their spirit, the money. Now they want the power. And this is doomsday for a lot of people, right? We've seen this over and over. Nonetheless, this is where these two kind of fell out. And at this point, I want to play some audio, just giving you a heads up, a little warning. It is like 20 minutes, maybe, of audio that we'll listen to from one of the biographic books of Nikola Tesla. And specifically, this is in regard to the relationship between Nikola Tesla and J.P. Morgan. All right, so we're going to take a listen to that. Oh, snap. I don't even have my headphones. That's kind of crazy. Where are my headphones? Okay, there's another way for me to listen to this. I'm going to put it on my microphone on mute, and then we'll listen to it because I don't have my headphones. All right, let's do it that way.
Aside from being annoyed with the difficult inventor, Morgan was concerned about Tesla's suggestion that he could transmit unlimited power by means of wireless.
Was everybody able to hear that? Was everybody hear that book? I don't want to play it and then y'all can't even hear it, right? So just put a one in the chat, really, if y'all was able to hear that audio. Give me 1 second, Mike. Okay, peace to the original man. Original man says yes. Peace to the gods and the earth. Here we go. Um, Let me answer Mike real quick. Um, I don't. I may not know their last name. You understand? But that don't mean I don't know them. I just may not know that that's their last name. But I might. Um, if they from the town, I know a lot of people in the town. I know a lot of people in the town. So if they're from the town, I might know them. Like Mike. All right. So we about to get into this book again. This is specifically dealing with J.P. Morgan about to betray Nikola Tesla because he realizes, yo, this dude is trying to give away free electricity. That's not what we do. Okay, yeah. He's locked up right now, right? I know of him. I know of him. He's locked up. I know him. I know of him, Mike. He's a little bit older than me, but I know him. I know of him. I've been around him, but we don't know each other personally. I think he's in Atlanta. He's locked up right now. But getting back to this, we're gonna hear actually how it came about that JP, like when it clicked and when he figured out like, yo, I can't fund this guy no more. And then you're gonna hear through letters that Nikola Tesla wrote, like his frustration, like, yo, bro, you supposed to be backing me, like you supposed to be my partner. And it don't sound like you're my partner at all. It sounds like you're trying to sabotage me because they realize they want things that they can meter and charge. And Nikola Tesla's talking about free stuff, and they not with none of that. All right. So again, let's now that I confirmed that y'all can hear that, I'm gonna go back to the and we're gonna finish listening to the book.
Why? If Tesla's enterprise were perceived to have become potentially profitable, having Ryan put in another $100,000 to complete it would have been an easy thing to do. We can therefore conclude that Morgan deliberately scuttled the Tesla venture. The Guggenheim Connection. Aside from being annoyed with the difficult inventor, Morgan was concerned about Tesla's suggestion that he could transmit unlimited power by means of wireless. Tesla was boasting here, since he assured Morgan in future letters that Wardenclyffe would only be able to transmit feeble amounts of energy. We come to a juncture here where the decisions of individuals redirected the course of history. As John Stuart Mill has noted, individuals make the history, and here is a clear instance of this proposition. For all intents and purposes, Morgan made the decision in October 1903 to do his best to ensure the inventor's defeat. Morgan, however, was opposed philosophically to Tesla's overall scheme. It has been suggested that Morgan felt pressure from other Wall Street moguls, such as Bernard Baruch, Thomas Fortune Ryan's young and highly successful stockbroker. One day, Baruch had mistakenly suggested that Morgan, like him, was a gambler. Morgan was reported to reply, "I never gamble," and indeed may have backed down from the Tesla deal for fear of taking a chance that the controversial inventor might fail or that he might succeed in a way detrimental to existing corporate structures. The following quotation is from physician and inventor Andrija Henry Puharic, a man of Yugoslavian heritage who was tangentially involved in helping ship Tesla's papers to the Tesla Museum in Belgrade in the early 1950s, and who personally knew John O'Neill, Tesla's first major biographer. Now I, Puharic, always got this second hand. You won't find it anywhere in print, but Jack O'Neill gave me this information as the official biographer of Nikola Tesla. He said that Bernard Baruch told J.P. Morgan, "Look, this guy is going crazy. What he's doing is he wants to give free electrical power to everybody, and we can't put meters on that. We are just going to go broke supporting this guy." And suddenly, overnight, Tesla's support was cut off. The work was never finished. From a technical and economic point of view, Morgan could not understand how free information and/or power could yield returns. And whether it was Baruch or not who warned Morgan, Tesla himself had voiced the opinion boldly, a decade earlier in the Sunday World, that by providing a reservoir of electrical energy throughout the Earth through his apparatus, all monopolies that depend on conventional means of energy distribution, that is, through wires, will come to a sudden end.
All right, I'm going to keep playing more of that, but I want us to focus on a couple of things, right? That's where we're at on this earth. You know, I talk a lot about esoteric knowledge, this, that, and the third. So, for those that can't never figure out, like, you know, why would they not want the people to know? It's always been like that. Like, no one wants. You're better as a docile person. You're better as because someone can use you. Then they could manipulate you, right? But if you are getting a product from the same place everybody else is getting it, I can't sell it to you. And if we all getting the same product, then the value of that goes down. And the same thing with knowledge, right? If you know how to do exactly what I know how to do and more, the chances of you wanting to work for me is very slim. You're probably just going to go start your own situation. So it is these type of people that I said a second ago that once they get so much money, it ain't about money no more. It's now we dealing with a whole different drive and inspiration. And it's to keep people at a certain level. And we've seen this. I've given examples of this tactic through philanthropy, right? Rockefeller was a big philanthropist, him and his sons. And they didn't necessarily do it because they wanted to see you better off. That's not whoever they gave the money to. It wasn't so much so that it was like, nah, I really want to see these people do well. No, it was like, no, I'm gonna give you the money or give some a point of contact the money so that I can control as much as that demographic as possible. Once you take the money, now I could muscle my way on the board and start to change around how things are done, change around the curriculum. That's dangerous, right? I'm literally signing off on things that I don't want you to know. One of the first things that Rockefeller signed off on was natural remedies, um, herbal medicine. Right? That was one of the first things he said. No, these people are quacks. All that earth medicine and medicine from plants and all of that. These people are quack jobs. And in traditional group think, people were scared to be different. They don't want to be the outlier. So what they do, they're gonna go with what's popular, which is dangerous. Stay true to yourself. Not that you gotta make a lot of noise about it. I'm not saying you protest everywhere you go that you don't believe in the system, but I'm not saying the system is always correct. Splashing, what's up, blood? Splashing, fake Jamal, he's around. I'm not saying that the system was always correct, but be yourself. You understand? I'm gonna play a little bit more of that before we carry on. But to do this program and to teach this today without acknowledging Nikola Tesla is disrespect. So I couldn't do it. You understand? So this is why we're spending so much time on Nikola Tesla this morning. Let's listen to a little bit more before because we're gonna get into a lot of information, but this is going to help you understand too, because we're going to be talking about the ionosphere. We're going to talk about eon flow. We're going to be talking about wave manipulation. So it's better to take it slow, so that we do understand what even inspired all of this. And I'm telling you right now, you're looking at the guy who inspired all of this, and there's no real recognition for him, and it's disgusting.
As the ultimate capitalist, Morgan's existence was greatly defined by controlling the price and distribution of energy and maintaining a working class to support the giant corporate monopolies called public utilities. Thus, he simply could not support a system where wireless information and power could be tapped by anyone with a receiving instrument, and machines would replace the workforce. Reorganizing existing power, lighting, and telephone industries to please the vision of a somewhat eccentric inventor was certainly an unlikely undertaking for the cautious Wall Street financier. All those businesses who would no longer need loans would then no longer deposit their profits in his bank. Tesla, as the quintessential iconoclast, had struck a bargain with the wrong king. In 1903,
So, in my opinion, J.P. Morgan had a point there. So it's I'm not delusional, right? I'm not going to be delusional. In my opinion, J.P. Morgan had a point, right? Because if there's a system already set up and people got jobs, and here's the unfortunate part, right? Not that a compromise couldn't have come to a compromise. Even if I think if they spoke to Nikola Tesla and explained the situation to him, I wasn't there, but I just highly doubt they really took the time to explain the situation. Like, listen, bro, we got hundreds of thousands of people out here that actually have jobs. This is how they feed their family. If we introduce free electricity for everybody at this point, not that I don't want to, you got a good idea. Your heart is in the right place. But if we do it at this point right now, you actually you did not help them. You put a lot of people out of work. You do understand that, right? So we have to implement it in a way where these people are not going to be put out of work. I, I mean, that's how I see it. And anybody can feel different. You know what I'm saying? Y'all can feel different and be like, nah, they should have gave it to the people. But again, it was already built on the system. These people are already working. Kids is already going to college. Food is already being put on the table. And you about to come in with some free energy and put a lot of people out of work. So I get it. Let's keep going for a second. I'm not sure how long I'm gonna listen to this, but right now it's okay.
Bernard Baruch, just 33 years old and one of the wealthiest men on Wall Street, retired from the firm he had worked for over a decade to set up his own office. One of his first major clients were the Guggenheim brothers. Their interest lay in metals, so Baruch met with the miners Darius Ogden Mills and John Hayes Hammond Sr. to seek advice and gain investments. Mills suggested that Baruch go west and purchase mines himself, and Hammond was hired by the Guggenheims to act as an advisor and acquire silver mines in Mexico. One of Baruch's first acquisitions was the Utah Copper Company, for he knew there would always be a need for copper in the world. Tesla's wireless enterprise clearly threatened the Baruch Guggenheim investment that Morgan was trying to involve himself in. By 1905, the Utah Copper Company was producing copper and other metals at a rate in excess of $100 million per year, and this was a pace which maintained itself for another 25 years. In later years, John Hayes Hammond would claim that the development of the electrical and automotive industries were possible only with assured large supply of copper. Unfortunately for Tesla, his ultimate world plan was perceived as a threat on quite a number of key fronts.
So here we go to another important part, right? And just looking at business, and a lot of times when you see someone being attacked, and you're like, yo, where did this come from? You have to understand mergers, acquisitions, corporate buyouts, corporate threats, right? But if you're just paying attention to silly nonsense all day about gossip and all of that, then you're not hip to what's going down. I'm gonna be honest with you. You don't gotta be a total psychic out here. You don't gotta be some seer all the time. All you gotta do is be tapped into what's going on a lot of fronts. You know what I'm saying? Like not just what's going on in the street. If you could tell me what's going on all the way from the street all the way up to corporate, then I'm impressed, right? Because not too many people could do it. Not too many people could do it. And because not too many people could do it, that's one of the things I always was attracted to myself. I said, yeah, I could do that, right? I could tell you who got shot, why they got shot around the corner. Oh, yeah, no, son, old, he came up short, this, that, and the third, right? But then I could tell you, I was on a meeting last week that I had with a company, and they did not expect me. I could tell by their reaction because I did not say anything to like a third of the no, a quarter of the meeting. I didn't mention that I knew that T-Mobile had was talking about acquiring them and the partnership they had. Oh man, you should have seen the movements, the scattering, the shimmering, the movements in the chairs. Oh, so this is what happened. I'm glad you brought that up. You didn't even know I was going to bring that up. Last week in the Wall Street Journal, they released it. Yeah. I'm tapped in, bro. I'm tapped in. I'm seeing what's going on. But yeah, I have limited amount of what I'm really digesting, right? So a lot of times you guys are asking me what's going on YouTube. I don't know about this. It doesn't. It's no value to me. It's none, right? It's a virtual street that does not exist that nobody's really standing on. I don't even know if they're trying to make money. Most of these guys is not even monetized. I don't know what's going on. It doesn't matter to me. But I'm talking about in reality. If there's information that can be valuable all the way from the street to corporate, then I want to know about it, right? I can't just take in all type of willy-nilly information taking up storage in my memory bank for no reason. This is what I talk about when I say protect your conscious and protect your subconscious. So I think I'm going to just stop right there. Well, there's more, but I'm going to stop right there. Let me just give you the save you for that from that whole chapter right there. Um, in the letters, Nikola Tesla reaches out to J.P. Morgan. He doesn't. J.P. Morgan tells him straight up, "I'm not giving you no more money." Right? Nikola Tesla's like, "Yo, you're my partner," but it's the way that J.P. Morgan ends the letters. He's like, "But I wish you well." And he's like, "What are you talking about? You wish me well? You're my partner. Like, you don't wish me well. Like there's sharks in the water and they're coming for me, and you're not even holding me down. And you said you would, right? But now you guys know why J.P. Morgan did what he did, and ultimately why Nikola Tesla could not have finished that deal. Now, other Nikola Tesla came out with a bunch of different patents. One of the patents, and I'm gonna take in a second. I'm gonna show you in chronological order. Chronological order. Some very pertinent information that you should consider for this particular broadcast. But this says Nikola Tesla proposed the concept of a death ray, or defensive weapon in the 1930s and 40s. This is impressive. No matter how we're going to look at a death ray, yeah, death ray sounds dangerous, but we talk about the 1930s and 40s. This man is proposing a death ray. He spoke about this in interviews. He referred to it as a defensive weapon intended to protect against enemy attacks. Tesla's idea for the death ray was based on the principles of, listen, directed energy and particle beams. Directed energy and particle beams. He described it as a weapon that could emit concentrated beams of particles or energy to destroy incoming targets such as aircraft or missiles. The concept intrigued many, including military officials, although the feasibility and practicality of such a weapon were questioned. So this is what I'm saying. They wasn't even hip to the true applications that this had. He was light years ahead. Almost a whole century. This guy was ahead. Now we're just now catching up to Nikola Tesla to where he was back then, as far as seeing the vision. And even though I don't think it's the exact same vision he had, I think they obviously altered it a little bit more darker. They finally started picking up what he was putting down. Right now, let me show you something. Show you something. Where's it at? Where's it at? Oh, okay, here it is. I know this. All right. Now I want to show some respect to this guy's name is Dr. Nick Bijek and Gene Manning. Angels don't play this harp. Advances in Tesla's technology, right? So he wrote a book. You can find it online. It's 167 pages. Um, his father was a senator in Alaska who, it doesn't sound like he believes that his father's plane just went missing by accident, but unfortunately, his father's plane went, quote unquote, air quotes, missing, right? And he was a senator. Whatever the case, I think this triggered young Nick Bijik at the time to become the man that he would become later on, right? So we're going to talk about the chronological order of some important dates, but I wanted to read this guys to you, right? Right away, he says environmental warfare. The U.S. government has a new ground-based Star Wars weapon, which is being tested in the remote bush country of Alaska. This new system manipulates the environment in a way which can. Now, these are the attributes that they're given to the Haarp, right? Disrupt human mental process. We're going to talk about that today. That's one of the first things. But that's all we're going to talk about today. Jam all global communication systems. Change weather patterns all over large areas. A lot of people, when they think about Haarp, that's what they talk about, right? The weather manipulation possibilities of Haarp. But we don't talk about the mental process, which has been tried and proven. Interfere with wildlife migration patterns. Negatively affect your health. Unnaturally impact the Earth's upper atmosphere. That's what we're going to talk about today. The first and the last two bullet points. Disrupting human mental process and the unnaturally impact the Earth's and the unnaturally impact of the Earth's upper atmosphere. All right. All right. They got a little timeline here. This is the timeline right here. 1886, Nikola Tesla invents system of alternating current, AC. Right. They was using DC before that. Direct current. Right. Which doesn't go as far. But when you use AC, you allowing the electricity to go farther. So therefore, if you were using direct current, which they were, right? These big corporations, they would have to put these plants like all over the place. If we were still using that, they would have to put one of these generators randomly every few blocks, right? Because it only worked efficiently up to a certain distance. But with AC, the range actually expanded a little bit further. Right? So that was 1886. 1900, Tesla applies for a patent on a device to transmit electrical energy through the natural mediums. We're going to look at that. That's 1900. Confirmation that radio waves bounce off the ionosphere. 1924. Scientists propose to light up the night sky by electron gyrotron heating from a powerful transmitter. 1938. Now, I'm saying these things because when we think about early 1900s, we be thinking, I don't know what we be thinking or what's the perception, but these people they had knowledge of how technology was supposed to work. So what I'm getting at is I strongly believe now a lot of people's inventions and technology was suppressed. Strongly believe it. Right? A lot of people don't even know the first cars were electric. Right? So all of this talk about, oh, we got electric cars now. Beloved, the cars started off electric. What are we talking about? But that wasn't going to be beneficial for the people who sold gas. (1940) Tesla announces the death ray invention. 1945, atomic bomb test again. 40,000 electromagnetic pulses to follow. Right? So again, you guys could go ahead and I'm not going to read all of these. Some of these bullet points are good bullet points though. But you guys can go. Please go check out this book. Let me see this. What's this here? The Woodpecker Project. In the Tesla world, there was a small article entitled "Weapons Designers Win Secret Award." It said this: the Lawrence Livermore. I never read this before, so I'm reading it right now with you guys. Project Woodpecker. It pertains to electron cyclotron resonance heating method, now being used to alter the Earth's magnetic field in order to modify weather, create a trigger earthquakes, volcanoes, spread viruses. That's nuts. Create the phenomenon known as electromagnetic pulse, modify behavior control among the populace. Oh, it says the original research concerning the electron cyclotron resonance heating method was done by Nikola Tesla and later expanded upon by not only Soviet scientists but also United States scientists such as Bernard J. Eastlund, a scientist who is associated with ARCO. ARCO has traditionally been controlled by members of the Council of Foreign Relations. I don't know why this all of a sudden just seems like conspiracy theory talk. This is kind of nuts. What's this audio right here? Hold on. I never read this. Right away, I don't know what it's saying, but right away I didn't feel good. So I will not play that. Hmm. Well, maybe I'll do this on another one of my shows because I did not incorporate none of this, but I'm speed reading it, and is huh, it is interesting. All right, now let's get back to let's take a small commercial break, right? Because we're about to get into the next part of our show. But again, um, that barcode right there that you guys are seeing today, I am asking everyone that is watching this live and on the replay, to donate $10 to this broadcast. We have not even gotten into the information yet, right? I just kind of did a warm up with Nikola Tesla. Not that I thought it was going to take that long, because I did not know it was going to take that long. But I'm not mad at it because that's my guy, Nikola Tesla, and he deserves that much at least of recognition, letting you know how much he contributed to society that we live in today. Now, you're going to learn a lot of things today. So I'm asking everyone if you can scan that. Now I have two options. The first way is this here. This you'll pay through Stripe here. I don't get your credit card. I don't have your it's going to take your information, but I can't see it, right? It's encrypted. Um, Stripe is a popular payment gateway system, right? But I'm specifically using this so that you can donate to this here specific program that I'm doing today. I'm asking everyone for $10. $10. Whether you know me, whether you don't know me, whether you're watching this on a replay, whether you're watching this on a live, I'm asking everyone for $10 because everyone does not have Cash App. Now, if you do have Cash App and you're like, that's easier, here is the Cash App. You can go ahead and scan that. You can go ahead and punch in that link, and you can donate that way to the cause. Even if you watch this on a replay, I know the numbers spike when it's time to watch this on the replay, right? And this is for several reasons. Because for one, YouTube is not pushing out the notifications. So right now, I need you to just check to see if you are even subscribed to me, and check to see if the notifications are set in place. And actually, just do it over. Just do it over. Hit the bell button. Um, so undo it and then redo it just to know that you did it right. All right. Now, let's get into some knowledge. Let's start with something called Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction. And I'm starting with this for a reason, right? Because the whole thing is to help you understand how things work. Because if I just told you something, you don't know, right? If I'm capping, if I'm just repeating stuff, I could be freestyling. I want you to know. So I want you to actually understand. When you understand, it is at that point you be like, holy smokes. If that's possible, they're going to do it. If that's possible, never mind them saying they're not doing it. If it's possible, they're going to do it. We know that already. And I'm telling you it's possible. So here we go. First things first, dealing with Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction. Let's deal with the Earth's magnetic field. The Earth has a magnetic field generated by the movement of molten iron and nickel in its outer core. This magnetic field extends into space and surrounds the Earth, creating what we call the magnetic sphere. Rotation of the Earth. As the Earth rotates on its axis, it moves through its own magnetic field. The movement induces electrical currents within the Earth's core. and the surrounding rocks. So let me do this. Let me put me on the screen so I can look at you guys. Try to explain this a little bit better, right? So you have the Earth, right? But then there's layers to this round, spheric shaped planet. There's layers. And they've titled these layers, right? So we want to deal with the inner core, the outer core, right? And the closer you get to the inside, the more hot it's going to get. So imagine, do I have anything round? I don't need anything round, but imagine you had a ball. Just a hard ball of pure fire, right? And then right outside of that, there's some liquid. But because of the that hard ball that I was telling you about is just so hot, pure fire, it has actually liquefied all of the material around it, right? So it makes it like grease. So it is that ball and that grease, that liquid material I'm telling you about, that allows the earth to just smoothly keep turning around, and it's rotating on that ball there, right? But the thing is that that grease that I'm telling you about is not grease at all. It is actually iron and nickel. Now, as this iron nickel heats up, right? Just like if you boil water in the pot, what happens? Well, the water turns to steam, right? And it will evaporate. But in this particular case, it's not going to evaporate, disappearing like, oh, there's no more water. No, 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 no. What happens is the material itself does get heated up and then it rises to the top just like heat does, right? And as it gets to the top, it gets cooler, and then as it gets cooler, it sinks back down, right? But this process, I think they call it convection. The heating of this two of these materials is actually creating an energy wave, right? So not only is it creating an energy wave, but the planet is spinning, right? So as this wave goes out, this it turns into or is electromagnetism. But because the Earth is spinning on its axis, it kind of creates a pattern in a wave, so to sense, to cover the whole Earth, right? So I really simplified it, but I want you to have a better understanding of what's actually happening, because I could read these what I got down there, the thumbnails, but if you had a simpler version of it and then I reread it, then it would make more sense, right? So we're gonna go back to that now. All right, so let's take the rotation of the Earth. Let's start there. As the Earth rotates on its axis, it moves through its own magnetic field. This movement induces electric currents within the Earth's core and the surrounding rocks. Right? So we spoke about that. Electromagnetic induction. According to Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction, when a conductor, such as the Earth's core and surrounding rocks, moves within a magnetic field, it generates an electrical current. This occurs because the moving magnetic field induces voltage along the conductor, right? So when you put my real simple explanation next to this more articulate explanation, the whole thing is understanding. If you can't understand it, then it don't matter how articulate that you wrote it. And the problem is, well, the problem I feel is that a lot of books, even that's meant to teach you, it doesn't consider everyone's level of understanding and cognition, right? It's kind of like, no, I'm gonna start here, and that's where I'm gonna be at. So if you get it or not, it's on you. And the problem with that is the teacher gave you one night to turn in the homework. So it's like, yo, we went over this a little bit in class. You didn't understand. I gave you homework. You still didn't understand. Test is tomorrow. You are failing right now. You do understand this. Yeah, but I don't really understand. Well, you might want to get some extra help. Meanwhile, while you try to get extra help, they done moved on to like 5 different more topics. So you just playing catch up until you just give up and then you're like, yo, this ain't for me. And welcome to the education system. It's crazy. And then people give up, man. Then they just put the kids on all type of ADHD medicine, like, yo, your child is special ed needs. Like, what? Is what? Right? There's so many variables to that thing, man. You got teachers that really burnt out. They don't really care like that, right? They making a whole 50,000, 55,000. Now, to someone that's making 20 something thousand, you're like, yo, that's good. It's not. It's not good for a teacher to make 55,000 and a correctional officer to make 112. It's not good. It's not good at all. You understand? One is clearly more motivated. Yo, we're not done. Let's continue on. Generation of electricity. Therefore, the rotation of the Earth within its magnetic field generates electric currents within the Earth's interior. These electric currents, in turn, create their own magnetic fields, contributing to the overall geomagnetic field. While this natural phenomenon contributes to the Earth's magnetic field, it is not typically harnessed for practical electricity generation on Earth surface. All right. So, again, I'm not going to spend too much on Faraday's law, but guess what? If you never heard of Faraday's law, or the last time you heard of Faraday's law was in 7th grade, guess what? Now it's the time to write that down, and you're going to teach yourself about Faraday's law. This is important. It's important for you to understand because you want to know, you want to have knowledge yourself, and part of having knowledge yourself is your surroundings on how things actually work. Because if other people understand how it works and you don't, they're going to take advantage of you every single time. Every single time. And in this particular topic, I don't think you really want people to have that much knowledge about something that they can do and you had no idea that it can be done, as we will see by the end of this video. All right. So we spoke a little bit about Haarp, but then again, we didn't. I just mentioned it. I never even like kind of broke down what it does, and now it's going to make more sense why I was even talking about Nikola Tesla in the first place, right? But anyway, what does Haarp stand for? The high frequency, so that would be the H. Active, that's one of the A's. Oriel, that's the other A. Research, that's the R program. The High Frequency Active Oriel Research Program, or HARP, is a scientific endeavor aimed at studying the properties and behavior of the ionosphere. Really? I think we've heard that somewhere before. The ionosphere stretches roughly 50 to 400 miles above the Earth's surface, right at the edge of space. Along with the neutral upper atmosphere, the ionosphere forms the boundary between Earth's lower atmosphere, where we live and breathe, in the vacuum space. So basically, what they're saying is they've divided the skies. They've divided the space above your head. right? And this is what I'm also mean about semantic manipulation, right? Now, this is not a great example of semantic manipulation, but do I feel it's unnecessary to some point degree? Eh, maybe not. Does it make it more confusing? Yes. It's not that breaking down the atmosphere above our head into several different layers is misleading. I don't think it's misleading. We can do what you will do what you want as man. If you want to divide the skies up and call it what you want, all right, you can do that. But it just confuses and it turns people off from learning, right? Because and just instead of saying, the sky, which most people will understand, you done broke down the sky into 6 different categories, and then you may just use one of them, and then people don't know what the hell you talking about. And they get turned off, and they rather watch Diddy, whatever's going with Diddy. They don't care if you said they caught him with the gardener and the guest house. They'll watch that for 2 hours because they're not about to sit here and muck around with you over your 18 categories of the sky. So I'll go over this real briefly, but the important thing to walk away from is all of this means the sky. They just broke it down into different categories, usually about how high up it goes, right? So let's take the first one, which is the troposphere, extended from Earth's surface, so from the ground you walk on, all the way up to 5 to 9 miles, right? All the way up to 9 miles. That's the troposphere. Now, whenever in your life did you ever have a discussion and mention the troposphere? Like, the other day, you know what I'm saying? I was thinking about just surfing through the troposphere. You was never, ever going to use that word. We use the stratosphere. We've probably used the stratosphere more than we've ever used the troposphere. I don't think I ever heard of the troposphere. I'm gonna keep it 1,000 with you. I've used the stratosphere for no good reason at all. Now the stratosphere is 31 miles above the Earth's surface. So again, we're just talking about different areas of the space above us. The mesosphere is 53 miles above us. The thermosphere, now we getting a little bit out there, right? Thermosphere is 373 miles above us. The exosphere, the outer layer, beginning at the top of the thermosphere, is gradually transitioning to the vacuum of space. Okay? So what's the ionosphere? The ionosphere, a region within the thermosphere and extending into the mesosphere, starting at an altitude of approximately 37 miles and extending. So when they say 37 miles, I think they talking about they could be talking about 31 miles from the mesosphere and extending up to several hundred kilometers above the Earth's surface. It contains high concentration of ions and free electrons, influencing radio communication and navigation systems. Well, this is very important for us to understand, right? So we might even know their motivation. Now I have a little diagram over here, but you can barely see it. It's barely legible, right? But this dark blue up the top is the ionosphere, right? It says the aurora. And those are usually the lights that you see in Alaska, right? Those like green vibrating lights. Right below that is the mesosphere. Right below that is the stratosphere. And then obviously below that is the troposphere that I've never used a day in my life. So now we have a better understanding of the layers of Earth, which we're going to have to understand, because for some reason, man wants to do things, crazy things, to the ionosphere. But this is man we're talking about. You can't trust man. You don't need to understand his motivation. He's just a wild boy. All right, let's understand what is an ion, what is the ion flow, right? This is more things that we do need to know, we do need to understand before we get into a real conversation here, right? So I know today is a little bit slower, but I did not only do this. Let me tell you something. Can I sidebar for a quick second just to let y'all understand something? I don't necessarily do lives because I want the engagement. If you really want to know why I do the live, a lot of times, if I do the video, then then YouTube is definitely not gonna. They don't promote my videos, right? They will hide this video. They will hide it, and you won't ever see it. But if I do the live, it's harder to do that. Morocco, peace, bro. Peace. Thank you. It's harder to do that, right? And then you guys can share the live, right? So, which I highly suggest. I'm not up here teaching BS this morning, right? I'm teaching something that you should let your kids understand. Anybody that you know understand. Like they need to really stuff I'm going over today. And yet, I feel like I still haven't gotten into it yet because I'm just setting up a primer for you to understand. That's it. So that when I do drop the bomb, you're like, oh snap. It's all gonna come together in a second. But if you what's the use of me telling you all that stuff if you don't know what the ionosphere is? Right? If you don't understand what Haarp really is. I could have did a 5-minute video just rattling off some stuff if that was the case and put a bunch of pictures up there and some videos and who knows how many views I would have got. But this ain't about that. This is about actually understanding so that you can walk away like, holy smokes, that's possible. And you know it's possible. Now, let's get into the ion. What is the ion flow? Now, here's what I mean by word semantics, right? This is what I mean by word. It's just crazy. Now, you got the word ion and you got the word atom, which theoretically they are the same thing outside of one difference. An ion is an atom that has lost or gained electrons. You see how confusing that is? You know what's so stupid about that? Atoms are always losing electrons. So why would we even call it why would we even call it something different? But we do. An atom that loses or gains electrons is considered an ion because electrons are negative and protons are positive. Differing amounts create a charge. So you can have a positive charge or you can have a negative charge, is what they're saying. And I believe is when the negative charge is when you have more electrons, and the positive is when you don't have enough. Well, you have less than. Ions are like tiny little electrical charged particles, and they like to move around. When these ions move from one place to another, it's called the ion flow. It's kind of like when you see water flowing in a river, except in this case, it's tiny charged particles moving around inside the living things like our bodies. This eon flow is really important because it helps our bodies to do things like move our muscles, think, and feel. It's like a superpower that helps our bodies work properly. Now, I've always said that the computers that we use were designed after by the or inspired by the human anatomy, right? Because if you take something called the motherboard, if you really look at a motherboard, I'm not going to pull a motherboard up right now. Like I should have did it, if anything, before the show, because I create these slides, right? Just to let other people know. I know you guys probably figured that out, but there's some people that I don't know where they think I get this information, and they think I'm just reading somebody else's slides. And no, it's me that created slides. It's me that does the research, which is why I asked you to donate $10 to the program. Um, but when you look at, and you can Google computer motherboard, right? And then you see the circuitry, the little like gold copper veins on the green, right? That's to carry the current all the way through. That would be considered your veins, right? If you ask someone, a technology person, show me where the CPU is. The CPU, the central processing unit, is actually the brain, right? It's telling you, you do this and you do this. This is part of the nervous system, right? That's what your brain does. You go do this. You close your eyes. You do this. First of all, that computer is not turned on without an electrical charge. That's number one. And your body is no different. Your body is no different. In order for anything to happen, there must be an electrical charge in your body. In your body. So it is safe to say that anytime the electrons leave or enter an atom, there's an electrical charge. And this is happening a lot because of stable configuration. Or you may even see something to the effect of, as far as technical jargon, something like chemically electro equilibrium, right? But I don't want to get too nerdy. But if you want to write that down just for like a side note so you could look it up later, there you go. But it's about keeping a stable balance amongst all of the atoms in your body. And because your body is always trying to do that, then there's always a consistent current, electrical current going through your body, right? Electrical state go in within your body. Let's get to your brain. Your brain is like a big network of wires, and brain waves are like the electrical signals flowing through those wires. When we think, feel, or do anything with our brains, different parts of our brains start to communicate with each other. They do this by sending electrical signals back and forth. These electrical signals create patterns which we call brain waves. I'm not moving fast on purpose, right? I just want us to kind of digest what it is I'm even talking about. And I know me, I like to read things like 5 times, right? So I'm just holding it here for a second. And I'm rereading it myself so that I can cognitively digest what it is I'm supposed to interpret here. And the brain waves are like electrical signals flowing through those wires. Let's talk about these brain waves. Brain waves are categorized into frequency bands, each associated with different states of consciousness and cognitive functions. Right? So let's deal with these. Let's learn these today. It's good for us to know these. You have the delta waves associated with deep sleep and restorative processes. So they're saying when you're sleeping, this is the band that your frequency band that your brain will be operating on while you're asleep. Anywhere from zero point 0.5 to 4 hertz. Theta waves. How many cycles? How many cycles of repetition, right? 4 to 8 hertz per second. Linked to light sleep. Theta waves are linked to light sleep. So it's not as deep as I'm knocked out after 40 hours of worth of work, but it's linked to a light sleep, deep relaxation, meditative states. Alpha waves, 8 to 12 hertz. Connected to relaxed, calm, yet alert states, often observed during quiet and restful moments. You're just chilling, you're drinking your tea. You're looking out, you done seen a fox outside, right? You ain't really doing too much, but it's interesting. And you're just enjoying life. Chances are you're at the alpha wave state. Beta waves related to active thinking, problem solving, and focus. This is more of you at work. 12 to 30 hertz. Gamma waves, 30 to 100 hertz, associated with high level cognitive functioning, including perception and consciousness. Gamma waves. Neurons have several key components. Neurons are specialized cells that are fundamental units of the nervous system. Neurons are responsible for transmitting information throughout the body in the form of electrical signals. They play. Now, I just want to stop here for a second. I keep repeating electrical signals, but somehow I don't remember really reading that many books in when I was learning this in school that emphasize the electricity that was in the human body. They are now because I don't know if they have a choice. I don't even know if the school books or the textbooks are doing it. But you can find this information on a simple Google now, and I think that's because a lot of this information is it's like it's out there. It's overwhelming. You can't hold this back, and if you try to hold it back, it's just going to seem like you're dishonest, right? So they just like let them have the knowledge. A lot of them they're not going to take it anyway. Plus, besides, we got so many distractive snares out there. They're never ever going to be. They're never going to care. They're never going to care, right? We got 10 plays a week we putting out. I didn't really pay attention last week how many plays they put out. I know they rehashing. They just going to dig into diddy, right? And I know they did their job last week because my wife don't never talk about all this type of gossip that's going on. But she definitely wanted to talk about what was going on with Diddy and Cassie last week. And I had to play my part, right? I'm listening. For real? That's crazy. As she demonized Diddy, right? Meanwhile, this dude is still out. He's still on the streets at God knows whose island. So it's like, all right, does any of this have a point? Or you just don't want me paying attention to some other stuff that you got going down that we might talk about today. Let's get into it. Neurons are responsible for transmitting information throughout the body in the form of electrical signals. They play a crucial role in the process, such as thinking, sensation, movement, and behavior. Now, this is a poor diagram. It's very fuzzy, right? But it's supposed to be just basically breaking down the parts of a neuron, right? And the parts that I want to talk about, I'll talk about all the parts, but the parts that are really intriguing are, I think, these dendrites. These are the branch-like extensions that protrude from the cell body and receive signals from other neurons or sensory receptors, right? Then you have the axon. This is a long, slender extension of the neuron that carries signals away from the cell. So communication is constantly happening. But this communication, if we're reading, it does not happen without electricity. None of it. None of it happens without electricity. Now that's very pertinent information, because when you're dealing with electricity and electrical pulses, then, and I did not put this in my diagram, but I'm going to try to explain to you guys. Now you're starting to deal with the reality of digital information, ones and zeros, binary. The same way that the computer works through electrical pulses is what I'm telling you. Your body works the same exact way through electrical pulses. And the patterns of these pulses represent language, communication of what is supposed to be done, of what is supposed to be, of what is being requested, of what is being accepted. All right, now we're going to get into something. Right now we're going to get, what time are we at? Hour 30. So we're actually doing good, because my shows are usually only 2 hours long. So we might not even go over 2 hours. I doubt it. We're definitely going over 2 hours, because I didn't even play the videos yet. But now let's get into something called brain entrainment. Write that down. Brain entrainment. Entrainment. This involves synchronized. Now, this is where things get, yo. This is where you appreciate, like, okay, I see why he went through all of that just now. Entrainment involves synchronizing brain waves with an external rhythm. Oh boy, it's about to get real. For instance, binaural beats use two slightly different frequencies played in each ear to create a perceived beat frequency. Hold on. Which can alter brainwave patterns to match a desired state. Remember when I taught you guys that 1 plus 1 equals 3? Well, I don't think there's a better example of 1 plus 1 equaling 3. There's no better example right now that I can think of. And I'm going to read this again. Because you have one frequency on, if you put some headphones on, what they're saying is they're going to use one frequency in one ear and another one in the other. But it's going to create, the combination of the two creates something desired or undesired. For somebody it's desired, for somebody it could be undesired. But the point is, Just the mere practice of this, just the mere fact that someone can do this to alter someone's mood is the point. You can alter someone's mood. They can be more relaxed. They found this out to be true. TMS and TDCS. These methods apply magnetic fields or electrical currents to specific brain regions to modulate neuronal activity. Modulate. I do believe that means to change, right? In some form or fashion, the frequency. Modulate. So I'm going to use that word because it's simple for me. And then I reread these words. These methods apply magnetic fields or electrical currents to specific brain regions to change neuronal neu, neuronal activity. See, that worked better for me. TMS can induce, can push in, or suppress activity in the targeted area. This is very important. I need you to pay attention right now. Again, I hate the fact that they use all these complicated words and symbols. Kush, what's good, bro? Kush just getting up, y'all. It's like 8:30 out there, something like that. 9:30. But this is a good time to join us, Kush. Get some coffee, pull up. Oh, and by the way, as you will see in my next commercial, I'm asking everybody for $10, but you can wait till that commercial, beloved. TMS can induce or suppress activity in targeted areas, potentially changing the dominant brainwave frequencies and their attributes like amplitude and coherence. Mhm. So, what do we walk away from? What are you telling me here? Well, I believe what I'm telling you is we can change the way your brain activity, the activity of the brainwave, so that can change your perception of things, right? We'll see. We'll see. Let's keep going. Binaural beats. When two slightly different frequencies are presented to each ear, the brain perceives a third frequency. The difference between the two intends to synchronize its brainwave activity to this beat. For example, listening to binaural beats at 10 hertz can help induce alpha wave activity, promoting relaxation. Well, that's funny that they say listening to binaural beats at 10 hertz. Let's go back up. And what is at 10 hertz? Alpha waves. Alpha waves is between 8 and 12. So 10 is between 8 and 12, right? Understand. Understand. I'm going to take it slow because we got to understand. We got to understand. Now, our natural frequency rate for alpha waves is between 8 and 12. That's just natural. Nobody messing with us, no nothing. What I'm hearing is that frequencies can be combined to hit a certain frequency that would artificially induce an alpha wave like activity. Do you understand yet? You might not. Don't worry though. You will before I finish this program. Let's move to the second one. Isochronic tones. These are regular beats of a single tone. used in synchronized brainwaves. Unlike binaural beats, isochronic tones do not require headphones. Ooh, that's dangerous. So the binaural beats, because it's two slightly different frequencies that's creating the one frequency that's desired, you use headphones. In isochronic tones, these are regular beats of a single tone, just one tone, used to synchronize brainwaves. Ooh. Specifically synchronize brainwaves, but you don't need headphones. It's going to synchronize with a brainwave. Let's go back. So it can synchronize with the delta, which is associated with deep sleep. Or what if it's synchronized with the gamma? It's associated with high level cognitive function. Well, how you want to use it, Jamel? You tell me. How do we want to use this? I don't know. Don't use nothing yet because I don't really fully understand it, beloved. Don't use nothing. You don't have my consent. You don't have my consent. That's what I'm telling you right now. I'm still talking this over with the whole Pokerfaced Society. Please do not use anything on me. Do not use anything on your boy. We don't understand it fully yet. You do not have my consent. Light and sound machines. These devices use flashing lights and rhythmic sound to influence brainwave activity. Oh, really? And who has seen Mr. Glass? When the beast tries to get out the room and all she does is hit that light, bow, and the beast just turns into somebody else. I'm telling you right now, they tell you what they're doing through the movies, right? They tell you they've told you what they're gonna do through books traditionally, but now they use other means. They may use the news and tell you straight out what they're about to do. They use magazines, tell you straight out. Or if it's too hard to believe, they may use a movie to let you know. Brain entrainment. Reducing anxiety. Increasing alpha wave activity through neural feedback or brainwave entrainment can promote relaxation and reduce anxiety. These are just some of the examples. With how you can use this. It's not. I'm not saying they're all bad, right? Obviously, anybody can reverse engineer anything. Increasing beta wave activity is associated with improved concentration and cognitive performance, often targeted in ADHD treatments. Okay. And improving sleep. Enhancing delta wave activity can improve the quality of deep sleep. All right. So those are some of the more positive ways that people can use brain entrainment. So it turns out it's not all bad, which a lot of things aren't. It's just who gets their hands on it first. All right, we have come to that point of the show again, right? So whether you're watching this on the replay right now and you're finding this information appreciative, if you do appreciate, then what I'm asking for today is a $10 donation from everyone that is watching this on the live as well as the replay. Now, if you're saying to yourself, yo, I would, but I just don't got it, what I need you to do is borrow the $10 and donate to the cause. Now, I have two forms of payment today. One is a Stripe because everyone does not have the Cash App, right? And we'll get to the Cash App in a second. But I hear a lot of people say, yo, I don't even have Cash App. That is fine, beloved, because I figured you might say something like that. You understand what I'm saying? So, if you have a debit card, which I do believe you have, you can put in the payment yourself. I cannot see your debit card number and all of that stuff. This is Stripe we dealing with. This is Stripe is a highly respected payment gateway, and they see your stuff, but I cannot see that, right? So if you want to scan that barcode, it will bring you right to a place where you can donate $10, right? Even on the replay right now, please stop the video and go ahead and donate to the cause if you do appreciate what's going on. Now, I think we're on our last leg of information, so let's get to this. All right, these are some of the doctors, right? Now we're about to get into some. It's that was just a primer, and it's funny because it's 2 hours worth of priming, but and I still we haven't got there, right? So this might be a 3 hour show. But now I want to introduce some of the people who have contributed to the work that we're going to be talking about, right? Especially when it comes to working with the human mind and behavioral engineering, um, the electromagnetic atmosphere, and a combination of all of them. Just Eric, peace, peace, peace. Let's go, man. Let's go. Let's go. All right, here's Dr. Delgado, right? And some of these men I'm mentioning today are past and gone, but they have contributed highly, and they should be remembered, right? Because they have contributed to the New World Order, essentially. Anyway, let's go. Delgado was a Spanish neuroscientist famous for his work on brain stimulation. And I do believe Delgado was like Spain Spanish, like he was actually from Spain type of business. But anyway, that doesn't matter right now. His claim to fame: he conducted experiments involving electrical stimulation of the brain and claimed to have influenced behavior through these means, including stopping a charging bull using a remote control device implanted in its brain. Although not specifically about embedding messages, his work demonstrated behavioral control through direct stimulation. Hmm. So here we have, I mean, we all know Elon Musk, but how many of us really know Dr. Jose Manuel Rodriguez Delgado? I mean, you got to take it easy, Spanish people, on the 500 names. Easy. I don't even think Indians have that many names, right? They have harder to pronounce names. But my Spanish brothers and sisters they just go so far. It's like I couldn't make up my mind, so we just went with it all. You understand? This is common. Jose Manuel Rodriguez Delgado. Okay. Nonetheless, please look up this good brother. I'm not sure if he's still with us or not, but I have heard about his stories about the bull and the remote control. We hear about Elon Musk, but with the Neuralink, but what actually motivated Elon Musk to even get into that line of work, right? Because I'm not sure if Elon Musk designed Neuralink. He could have just acquired somebody's license. Dr. Ross Addy. These guys are titans in this area. I'm just letting you know that right now. So if you want to write these names down, these guys are titans. You're going to hear these names later on. Dr. Ross Addy. Background: Ali was a pioneer in the study of bioelectromagnetics and worked extensively on the effects of electromagnetic fields on the brain function. He conducted research on how low frequency electromagnetic fields could influence brain waves and behavior. He suggested that such fields could modulate brain activity. And we're gonna hear more about him. But again, this is definitely another giant in this area, right? I don't really know how to say this name. I'm not even gonna like play around with you guys, but I'm gonna try because it's nothing like butchering a good name on a Sunday. You understand? So let's try. Puharich was a medical doctor and a parapsychologist who investigated various forms of mind control and telepathy. He experimented with he experimented with electromagnetic fields and claimed to have influenced mental states and behavior. His work often delved into the fringes of accepted science, including claims of telepathy and remote viewing. I don't think we're going to talk about remote viewing today, but if you didn't know, the government definitely invested heavily into remote viewing, but I don't think we're going to talk about it today. This is the guy who we're really going to listen to today. Dr. Eldon Bird. Bird worked for the Naval Surface Weapons Center and conducted research on electromagnetic fields. Now, the interesting thing is we get a lot of these people that defect, or in his case, he did not defect. He actually retired the correct way, I believe, from the military, and then he actually went through the proper steps of asking what could he talk about that was no longer classified, or that, or even if it was classified, what could he talk about in that, up to what point, right? So I still appreciate it. I don't think he's here any longer, but I do appreciate him. You know, these are the type of people I often call American heroes that come forward and say, "Yo, this is what it is. You guys don't have no idea." And but because I'm allowed to say it, I will say this on my behalf. So his claim to fame, he explored the potential for using electromagnetic radiation to influence human behavior and has been cited in discussions about mind control technologies. He has claimed that such technologies could be used to manipulate brain states and possibly influence human behavior. All right. At this point in time, I would like for us to watch a video of Dr. Eldon Bird. Give me 1 second here as I set that up. All right, so we're gonna watch a video now of Eldon Bird. I'm gonna put my mic on mute so that there's no echo. All right.
To some of the things she said and tell you a little bit more about who I am. Well, I'm a medical engineer with graduate degrees from both George Washington University.
Give me a second, y'all. I just want to turn up the volume. Give me a second. Turn up the volume.
Not Georgetown. And from Brownell University in Elmhurst, England. Unfortunately, that university is now defunct, and the franchise was bought by some diploma mill in Florida So I stopped telling people, hey, my Doctor of Science degree is from Brownell University. Oh, that's the one you can buy. It was an honorary degree. It was not earned in the sense that I went to school there, and another reason for maybe not using it. However, it was granted based on my works and publications. As she mentioned, I was a system engineer for the Polaris and Poseidon weapon system, working for industry as a systems engineer on those projects. I was a project manager for the Naval's Metal Matrix Composites project and the Marine Corps' non-lethal electromagnetic weapons project.
We're going to talk about non-lethal technologies after this video. Non-lethal weapon technology. We're going to talk about that more after this video.
Dolphin researcher that was privately funded, and we were looking at basically interspecies communication. Can dolphins and humans communicate? The dolphins have very little difficulty communicating with us. We just don't know how to communicate with them. As far as I know, I created the only data that still exists, it's still unique, that proves that dolphins not only send out acoustic signals, simultaneously with the acoustic signals, they send out electric signals and magnetic signals. And they use phase information coming back from the acoustic and the magnetic fields. The electric fields we think are just because the acoustic signal, it goes along with them. But they use phase shift information to actually create images in their mind. And they can send these images to other dolphins using a combination of acoustic and magnetic fields.
So it appears that the dolphins still have the ability, and we don't know what other animals have this same, they still know how to do this. We don't know if, let me say, I don't know if other animals know how to do it, never knew how to do it. But what this researcher is saying is that he has discovered that dolphins, in fact, do know how to do it, right? It is said at one point in time, because now we're talking about telepathy, that human beings even knew how to do this. But what I wanted us to consider today is the possibility of it being true. Right? The possibility of its reality. Now, if we know for a fact that we are on an electrical grid, right? Because we're going to call it an electrical grid just for the mere fact that we're not flat earthers and we do believe that the earth rotates on an axis. And because of reasons I explained at the beginning of this video, that rotation creates an electrical magnetic current, right? So this is where the grid comes into play. But not only are we just inside or about a electrical grid, we ourselves operate off electricity. We understand this too, right? There's nothing moving in your body. There's no type of functions going on. You're not thinking. You're not doing diddly squat without electricity. Frequencies and waves of thinking, right? Waves, electrical signals. We call them brain waves. Now the dolphins have figured out, I don't know if they figured it out on purpose or it's just an innate thing. It's just what it is. It's what it is to be a dolphin. It's what they do. But the way they use their brains, they can teleport images to another dolphin. I'm going to keep it 1,000 with you. It was only a matter of time before, after humans discovered that we're living within a electrical grid like this, and then we ourselves are electrical, it's only a matter of time. Once we figured out, wait, information could be carried on a electrical signal. They was going to figure it out. That, yo, if your brain is operating off electrical signal, maybe I could send you a message. It's only a matter of time. But let's not jump the gun. Let's finish listening to Dr. Bird. Let me not get too crazy.
Just when we were getting to the point where we were able to prove all this, the funding dried up and the project ended, even though we got tremendous amounts of interesting data analyzed by the Navy, by the way. Same people that analyze all the sonar data for the Navy's underwater fixed sonar systems. I have patents, as Marianne mentioned, on techniques for separating the components of signals in both space and time. I've been on the board of directors for the United States Psychotronics Association for the past 17 years. And she mentioned that, I think. And the only classified project in the government I was ever read into, they call it being read into the project when it's classified, was the government's remote viewing project. Everything I did on the non-lethal weapons project was unclassified. All the information I've been exposed to over the years about what might be called mind control technologies has all been unclassified. However, the remote viewing project does have mind control implications. I've checked to see what I could say about that, and I've been told I can talk about that all I want except for the targets. I said, well, I don't remember them anyway. These are submarine bases in the Soviet Union and guided missile facilities in the Soviet Union. I don't remember where all those were anyway. Minsk seems to be in my brain. That's old stuff now. The patents I've mentioned, one of them is digital. I agreed with everything Ron Rhodes said, except for the statement that the brain is not a digital organ. The brain contains the facility to convert analog information into digital. So we gather analog information from our senses. Touch is an analog thing. Sight is an analog thing. Hearing is an analog thing. And the brain has to convert that analog information into digital because the brain is a digital organ. Think about it. It's got ones and zeros running around. Neurons are firing or they're not firing. That's a 1 or a 0. Brain's a digital organ. When I told my son what I had done with sound to separate acoustic signals in time and space, he said, gee, if it works for sound, it ought to work for light. And he came up with a technique for separating the components of light in space and time, and voila, you have three-dimensional television. It's a digital technique. The reason it works so well and it looks like 3D is because he's putting out, instead of 30 analog pictures on the TV screen per second, he's putting 900 digital pictures on the screen per second, and your brain, being a digital organ, sucks that right in and creates 900 pictures a second instead of just 30 that you get with analog. Okay, some background. Entrenched in NASA's early rocket and space program were such notables as Wernher von Braun, Kurt Debus, and over 100 scientists that were part of the Third Reich. Did you hear that? Debus was the V-2 rocket flight test director and later became the first director of the Kennedy Space Center. Von Braun was an officer in Hitler's SS and became director of the Marshall Space Flight Center. All the Germans who became the core of our space program were brought to the United States under Operation Paperclip.
So, there it is. Not me just being some type of conspiracy theorist. There's other Americans out here that know the truth. just in case. I don't think y'all thought we was capping over here, but it's just really confusing how we went to war allegedly against the Germans because they were treating people a certain way over there, and then when we finally caught up to the scientists, we brought them over here and gave them 40 hours a week. You understand? We gave them a better life than they had in Germany. I digress anyway. Let's get back to this.
Adolf Hitler once said something to the effect, if you tell a small lie, not many people will believe you, but almost everyone will believe a big lie. These are people that came from Hitler's Third Reich, and they were the head of our space program. What's that mean? Well, maybe nothing, but maybe a lot. The underlying philosophy of the Third Reich was that it was a magico-occult based, and it's interesting to note that Robert Monroe, who founded the Monroe Institute, stated that NASA's space capsule program was tied into mystical rituals. Especially interesting is the connection between NASA officials and Freemasonry, especially the southern jurisdiction of the Scottish Rite. If you want to know more about that, you can look it up on the internet or get the paper I presented to the Psychotronics conference. I list all the citations of where this information comes from. The fact is that there is a big connection between NASA officials. The space program was started by Germans from the Third Reich. Over the years, reports have started to surface from people who claimed there were men in black with little black boxes zapping them, and eventually the claims became more generic, and the reports seemed to focus on a feeling that the zapping was some kind of experiment on randomly selected individuals. Government was suspected because of the past histories of human experimentation without informed consent. As the number of TIs increased, so did the number of claims from skeptics that they must be psychotic. My first inkling that there was such a cadre of people as TIs came in 1998 when I ran across the posting on a website which included the sentence, quote, I would like to strap Eldon Bird to a gurney and drip sodium pentothal into his veins so he would come clean about mind control. I responded and opened a dialogue because it dawned on me that my project for the U.S. Marine Corps to develop a non-lethal magnetic weapon was being construed as involvement in a mind control program, which it wasn't, although I later discovered that after the shutdown of the project, the technology did go dark, and I didn't go dark with it. So I may have been an unwitting accomplice in the development of the technology. We don't have to subscribe to conspiracy theories to see a mind control, going on under our very noses right now, and rather overtly. In the last 12 years, almost all of the school children who have killed their fellow classmates and almost all the adults who have massacred others in the workplace and at home have been on one of the 4 members of a class of drugs that includes Prozac, Zoloft, and Ritalin. If electromagnetic or other signals can induce similar effects, then the future of such events may lie in energy technologies rather than the chemical. But what about?
Just food for thought. I don't want him to talk so fast that you're not. I know you guys are picking up what he's putting down, right? I just like to give those little breaks for the mind to breathe, for you to contemplate, because he's dropping so much stuff. It's like, wait a minute, you understand? Now, obviously, it seems like this may, dating from how this looks, I don't know. This may be pre-Columbine. I don't know. But even I hate to. I don't really want to talk conspiracy theory today. I don't. So I'm just gonna get away from that because I can go down that rabbit hole. But that's not my point of doing this today's show. Today's show, I would really want to steer clear from all of that and deal with the ones and zeros in mathematics, right? And as he's breaking down of what chemical reactions can cause he's suggesting that, well, if that's what was going on, then if chemicals could do that, then where do you get a load of the electromagnetic powers that be? So that's what he's about to get into. Let's keep going.
About the technologies. Mr. Rust was absolutely correct when he said that emotions can control DNA. This is a fact. It's been demonstrated, replicated. However, I hate to tell him that the technology does exist to influence emotions, which can then influence the DNA. And
this is crazy. This is crazy because right after I play this video, we're going to get into exactly what he's talking about. But this is bananas. That so much would be applied to us not ever knowing ourselves so that we could not figure out what opportunity is where for what to happen, right? So if you did not know the enormous amount of electricity that was running through your body and understand what was going on, if you did not know that there was code in your body called DNA that can be manipulated, they've figured out how to do that. But it gets deeper, right? Because just when you thought that something had to be in you, right? We put so much, and then guess what? They let us. They let us run around and say, yo, we're going to chip everybody. They don't need to really chip you, though, but they don't. The chip is more or less, if a chip anywhere, not just in a person. I'm just saying a chip, period, would be for specific targeting, right? Instead of blanketing everyone, I want to specifically pinpoint you. But if they wanted to broadcast a signal, that's why it's called a broadcast signal, and send the signal to whatever the end node is, whatever the end. Well, if we just talk about computers, right? Because I said I want to stay away from freaking conspiracy theories. The time will come for me to talk about human beings in the next 30 minutes. But let's just stick with computers on a network, right? If I wanted to, if I went to your school, if I went to your house, and every device that's on your wireless, those are considered nodes. That's what we call nodes in technology, right? Your printer, your phone, your computer, anything that is picking up, your tablet, anything that is picking up and is part of your network, it's picking up on your Wi-Fi. If I wanted to broadcast a system to every last device on your network, I could do that. That's called a broadcasting signal. Exactly, Splash. But, I'm not going to go there yet. Good morning, Abria. Apparently, Abria has changed her picture again. Okay. She does this from time to time. We got some time. I'm going to be here for a while because I'm listening to him. And I did not listen to this whole thing. So he started dropping jewels, and I was just like, oh, snap. And I just said, I'm going to start working on the rest of the work because I was studying the rest of the work anyway. He was the icing on the cake, being that he was in the Navy and he dealt with this technology firsthand. He actually helped to invent a lot of this technology and prove the theory right. And then when, as he said in the beginning, when he didn't want to go dark with the technology, they just cut him off, and he ended up in a YMCA basement somewhere doing these here uh, lectures. But such is life. That's what happens. He shouldn't feel bad. I still call him an American hero. But that is what America will make you feel like, right? Listen, you go with us. We put a black suit on you, some black shades, and you know what time it is. You understand? We about to go to a Diddy party right now. Right now. You're wild and not wanting to go. He's like, nah, I think I'm gonna just sit here and play catch with my grandson. They skirted off in the excursion. Lame! And cut him off from all type of resources. And he never heard from them again. Took his technology and everything. This happens, beloved. This happens. But I'm here to always remind you of the true American heroes. Not on my watch will these people go down in history unnamed. Not on my watch. Can't do it. Let's go.
And unfortunately, the technology also exists to control scalars and use them to influence biological functions at the quantum level. That's the new technology you may not have heard of yet. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. In the 1950s, the Soviets published an open literature report entitled Biological Radio Communication, document that thick, translated by the Foreign Technology Division of the Air Force. It may have formed the basis for the Russian woodpecker because in this report, published in 1950, Vasilyev said that at 1 to 4 channels of input to the human brain, thoughts could be injected, but the subject knew that they were coming from the outside, that they were external to the mind. Between 5 and 12 and 11 channels, the thoughts were inside their head, but they knew they were not their own. And at 12 channels, the thoughts seemed to be their own.
That's crazy. You understand what this guy is saying? Now, he mentioned the document I pulled up a little while ago, the woodpecker, which sounds disgusting now that I'm talking about it, right? Maybe I shouldn't have said it in that tone, right? It just sounded like it wasn't, I shouldn't have said it like that. Like, come on, Saladin, it's a Sunday. No. It was some type of woodpecker program. I swear to God, I wish they called it something else, but called it the woodpecker program. And he's explaining, but buzz it. I think I read a document somewhere where the woodpecker, hold on. I got something in front of me. Hold on. Yeah. Okay, this says the Soviets began publishing pulsing woodpecker extremely low. And okay, this is something else. But I could have swore, he just said 1950s. But I could have swore I read somewhere that this woodpecker program was being worked on before the 1950s. But in any event, that's when their Navy intelligence got wind of the woodpecker program. So who knows how long the Soviets was using it. In any event, did you hear what the guy just said? That thoughts could be projected into someone else's mind? And at certain degrees, they would know, okay, you put it there. Or at another degree, it's like, yo, these thoughts are not mine. And at another degree, they don't even know if it's their thoughts. This is what he's explaining. And guess what? I haven't even gotten to the meat and potatoes of, if anything, yet. But you could bet your bottom dollar it has something to do with Haarp, in wave manipulation, in behavioral engineering. And guess what I feel good about today? None of it is conspiracy theory. None of it. So I want to stay away from conspiracy theory. Let's continue going. Let's go.
Maybe even an explanation for false memory syndrome. Interesting that the woodpecker, the Soviet woodpecker, worked up to 12 channels before going off the air. 10 years after the signal was discovered, I asked the CIA engineer assigned to it if they ever figured out what it was really for. And he replied, quote, "It was either over-the-horizon radar or a psychoactive signal." It wasn't over-the-horizon radar because at the same time they had the woodpecker going, they also had satellite technologies to look over the horizon. They didn't need an over-the-horizon radar. That only leaves one possibility in my mind. Psychoactive signals have been observed and photographed on television sets inside people's homes in the United States. Interesting that when that photograph was sent to two places, it was sent to Dick Cheney's office under the previous Bush administration, and it was also sent to an aerospace corporation here in California. And the response from Cheney's office was, forget about this. It doesn't mean anything. From the aerospace company, it was, where'd you get this psychoactive signal? How did they know? Jose Delgado's been mentioned here a few times, and he's kind of been painted in a way as a bad guy. Jose was a very good friend of mine. We haven't had any communication now for several years, but let me tell you three things about Jose Delgado. He moved from the United States to Spain, his home country, because he couldn't get anybody in the US government to take him seriously. The CIA had to go and contact him in Spain and ask him questions if they wanted to know something because of a collection request. You know, the interesting thing about collection requests is that they are made by somebody in the government, and there is a severance of who made the request. You know, there's a severance of that information to the collector. So the collector goes out with a set of questions. He hasn't the foggiest notion who asked these questions or why. It's just his job to ask the questions, bring back information. So Jose never knew who in the government wanted to know things. But one of the interesting things is that he was spending most of his time outside of Spain in the Soviet Union. And I asked him, I said, why are you giving your technology to the Russians rather than the United States? You know, aren't we the good guys? He says, I don't know who the good guys are. He says, but I do know this. They pay attention to me. They listen to me. They roll out the red carpet. They're interested in what I'm doing. And, you know, I just get some flunky come over and ask me questions once in a while from the US government. So he says, yeah, I talk to them because why not? They listen. He invited me to give a presentation at a conference he was that he was the chairman of in Montreal. We're talking about early 1980s. At this conference was everybody I had ever met that I knew was doing research and anything that might be construed as mind control that was doing it in an unclassified venue. It included Andy Bassett, the bone healing guy. It included Damadian. It included Polk. It included people, one guy even who had a lab. The only person in the whole Navy that I knew of was doing mind control research in a way, even though I didn't consider mine to be that at the time. This guy was. And when the government shut his project down, the Navy shut his project down, the same day they shut mine down, he killed himself. And I thought, man, you know, there's a million interesting things to do in life. You know, I am not my projects. I do not get married to the work I do, but he was. His life's work was his life. And when they shut down his life's work, he ended his life. Well, now I'm wondering if he really did. I don't know anymore, I guess.
Yeah, beloved, we don't know if he ended his life at all. You understand? This is America, Jack. We don't know, man. But it would have been dope if you would have mentioned his name, but you didn't want. He didn't want him to out front him. We don't even know who that other American hero is, but salute to him and his. May he rest in peace. Because I highly doubt he killed himself. But that's conspiracy. Let's continue on.
At this conference, I was sitting right between Andy Bassett and Jose Delgado, and across the table from me was Ross Adey. And I asked all three of them, how long have you been a member of this society that's sponsoring this conference? And they all said, we've never heard of it. A month after the conference, there was a collection request that came out from who knows who in the government, and somebody from the intelligence community, just a young guy, had a set of questions. I said, who asked these questions? He said, I don't know. They don't tell me who asked them or why. I'm just been sent to ask you these questions about that conference. And one of the things I told him was that the sort of the top level Russian that was there to give a presentation on mind control experiments in the Soviet Union using human beings in mental hospitals. And I asked her, and I described her as a heavy-set, humorless Russian PhD. And her response to my question, how do you get permission in the Soviet Union to do human experimentation in this area? And her response is, we not have same problem in Soviet Union you have in the US of A. Okay. When the report came out about this, there was a report that came out a couple months later, and I had alerted the intelligence guy out at my laboratory, if anything comes through your office having to do with Soviet ELF or mind control or anything, let me know. And he says, hey, we just got a report in, it's classified confidential. You might want to see it. The report was the interview with me. And the reason I know that for a fact is, you know, Dr. So-and-so from the Soviet Union was described as a heavy-set, humorless person. And so I knew it was the same interview. Of course, it was obvious when I read the content. So somebody and the reason I was interviewed was because I was the only, I was the only person with a security clearance that was at that conference. No one there had a clue who this guy was that put it together, or this so-called society that was sponsoring it. I later found out that he was from East Germany, and it was a fishing expedition just to see, you know, who was doing what. So there was kind of a one-upsmanship. Our government was oblivious, and the Eastern Bloc got the goodies. Today we know there are technologies that can induce sound into the brain at a distance, that can monitor and alter brain waves at a distance, that can alter behavior at a distance, that can induce images into the brain at a distance, that can target in.
That part is crazy. That part is nuts that Dr. Bird is talking about, right? He doesn't come off as a conspiracy theorist, right? And he has the credentials. He has top level security clearance. This is way different from Saladin getting up here and just shooting off at the hip. Not only does he has top level security clearance, he's actually helped invent these technologies. So it come off a little different when he say that we got the technologies to induce images in someone else's head. It just hit different. Let's finish hearing what he got to say, though.
Individual organs at a distance and disrupt calcium ions binding onto individual cell surfaces at a distance, creating pain and other effects anywhere in the body, and technologies that have moved beyond the realm of electromagnetics into the realm of hyperspace and scalars and into the quantum realm. We have demonstrated the ability of electric and magnetic fields to alter DNA and control bioelectric and biochemical processes in living systems. In other words, the technology to effect mind control exists without question. The question of whether it's being used is the cogent one. Reports from the open literature. One from NASA that says, the phenomena occurs at average power densities as low as microwatts per square centimeter, with carrier frequencies between 0.4 to 3 gigahertz. By proper choice of pulse characteristics, intelligible speech can be created inside the brain.
What are you talking about? Intelligible speech can be created inside of the. So, do you really? My question before I'm about to finish. Let him cook and let him cook. Do you really think they want you out here with idle time on your hands so you dead? Some idiot like Saladin can get up here and educate you. What if you had that many people in your city really tapped into this type of knowledge? Do you understand where we would be? It's not good for them, right? They like, yo, we trying to get something done, and you keep putting the people on to what's coming down the pipeline. But at the same time, there's no turning back, right? There's no turning back. Whoever signed on to go through with what is called the New World Order, or whether you want to call it the Agenda 30, 2030. I think the Agenda 2030 is a better name because it's actually documented as a partnership between the United Nations and the World Economic Forum, where they map out the goals for sustainability all the way up to the year 2030, right? But let me tell you something. As easy as that sounds, there's some hard decisions that's going to have to be made. And what I'm telling you, there's no turning back. It may seem cruel and a lot of yo, well, this ain't for the faint-hearted. Not that some of them care anyway. In my opinion, Bill Gates would not care at all if you was in front of him crying, please don't do this. They cannot turn back. They got to move forward. We can't remain with paper money. The whole world is going digital. And some of these countries are moving light years ahead of us because they don't have to deal with the democratic veil, right? Because they've been transparent from day one. Countries like China, right? They've been very transparent. We're a Chinese communist. It's in our name. We're communists. Like, why are you surprised? We're moving like this, right? So then they move like communists. Like, this is what's going down. This is not a democracy. So therefore, they are really way further than us. But it's only, you can't let your opponents or your adversaries or rivals get that far ahead of you. You just can't. So you're going to have to make hard decisions. And no one's going to like how it feels. Anyway, that was a big much coming from NASA, that the possibilities and realities that they can induce, not just images, but legible language, coherent conversations in someone else's head. Wow, that is.
Do you know what operates also between 0.4 and 3 gigahertz? Your portable phone. Not your cell phone, your portable phone. Smack dab between those two exact frequencies. The 3 gigahertz one hasn't come out yet, but it's been developed. But 0.4 to 3 gigahertz is exactly where your portable phone works. That'll become important in a little while. How about this title? Gordon and Breach Publishing Company, abstract of a publication entitled Experimental Production, quote, or parentheses, False Memories, by right hemispheric stimulation from complex, weak magnetic fields. Not images, memories. Author, Dr. Michael Persinger. April 24th, year 2000. You can find patents galore. There have been some mentioned here today at www.truefacts.org/menu/patents. .html, and of course, the entire US patent database at www.patents.uspto.gov. I'm only going to just mention a couple patents. The patents, when you look at them, reveal an old set of technologies for the most part. As early as 1974 to 1976, that describe techniques and devices reduced to practice for remotely inducing altered states of consciousness, putting voices in a person's head, monitoring their brain waves, and altering their brain waves. It's been possible to send information directly into a person's brain via radio waves since before 1989. In 1985, an ears, eyes, and throat doctor in San Francisco told me directly that 10 years before that, he had put audio into a person's head via radio waves, and then in 1985, he could do it in such a way that the person thought the information was an original thought in their mind. It required implanting a radio receiver directly on the oral nerve of the person. I said, you're telling me that there may be CIA operatives out there, they're in direct communication with headquarters via radio waves, and that they're being told what to do and communicating back and forth directly with these implants. He says, no, I didn't say that. I said, well, you just told me that you developed the technology to do that. He says, no, I don't have anything. I'm not working for the CIA. I never was. I said, that's odd. My note here says that contact this doctor in San Francisco, that he's developed this technology for us, and it came from the CIA analyst. No, I've never done anything with the CIA. Patent number 5213562 is the Monroe patent on his hemisync system. What's not generally known is that the patent includes altering another person's brain waves by imposing someone else's brain waves on them. Wow.
That's crazy. It's crazy. Listen, my name is Jamel Saladin. This is the Pokerfaced Society. If you have to go, don't, I'm talking to the society members. It's the Sunday of Memorial Weekend. Go out there and have fun. You understand? I'm doing this so that you guys have a point of reference to always come back to, right? So this is going to be on YouTube. If they don't scrub it, you'll always be able to come back and watch this. You understand? If there's 0 people in the house, I don't want you to feel bad. I'm still going to do this because it needs to be a place that we can reference and teach other people about what is and what will be and what is going on and what has gone on, right? Let's get back into it.
A later improvement to Monroe's technique yielded patent number 5356358. In this patent, Monroe discusses how to put subliminal signals in background noise to alter brain states. Multiple sources are used, and even a hypnagogic or sleep state was shown to be inducible via audio inputs. Nanotechnology was mentioned. It was just in the news last week that the same Japanese scientist who constructed a fully functional coil spring that fits inside a living cell has now made this little teeny plastic bull with horns and nostrils that conducts electricity that fits inside a living cell. If we can do that, what else can we do? It was just announced 3 weeks ago, that they have perfected a room temperature Josephson junction, an artificially constructed device that only lets 1 electron through it at a time. Squids don't have to be made now with being dunked in liquid helium. We can do it at room temperature. When that was announced, theoretical physicist friend of mine made a quick calculation. He says, my gosh, now we can make a brain the size of a brain. Same number of neuronal connections, acts just like a human brain. Of course, it'll make mistakes. In 1980 and 1981, I was tasked by the US Marine Corps to develop a non-lethal weapon using electromagnetic means. They were going to give this project to General Electric, but when I heard about it, I said, why do you want to do that? I can do that. And they said, why can you do that? I said, I'm the only medical engineer the Navy's got. And, you know, I've been looking into this kind of stuff. I think that's doable, and you don't have to give it outside. We can do it in-house. Well, I chose to concentrate on ELF nonlinear magnetics for several reasons. That was the easiest thing to do, for one thing. When the project was terminated by the sponsor, it had been demonstrated that such signals could alter the behavior of rats, cause histamine to dump into brain tissue, and we could entrain human brain waves at a distance. I'm of such a conviction that I would not allow that part of the program.
Kind of crazy that he's out here kicking knowledge, and he has 3 people in the audience, right? He got the cat lady in the front, the yoga lady with she don't got no clients, right? She's out there every Thursday at the old folks home doing the yoga. Nobody, just one dude in a wheelchair, right? God knows what he's doing under the blanket. Who knows, right? But she's there faithfully every Thursday. And then, sure enough, this is the lady who probably threw the whole event. And he's out here kicking knowledge. He's kicking facts. Ugh. It's frustrating, bro. It's frustrating. Take notes. We're gonna get into some things. Write down ELF, electronically low frequency. This is gonna be important. What else did he say? I'm gonna let him finish talking. I just wanted to break it up a little bit. Let's go.
Project to be demonstrated to be used on anybody else but myself. I was the guinea pig for the brainwave entrainment part of that. You don't feel anything, just that for a while, your brainwaves are different.
So it worked.
Oh, it worked. And immediately after I showed that we could do these things, they stopped the project and made it go dark, apparently. Under contract to me was Drs. Elizabeth Rauscher, Dr. Ross Adey, Dr. Evan Harris Walker, and
Yeah, but suppose they ended the project because you brainwashed yourself to think that you was some type of C-level executive. You understand? How I know that you didn't? You say you used it on yourself. Son he left work like this one day and came the next day like Mr. Biggs. He's bossing people around. They're like, yo, I don't even work for you, blood. But in his head, you do work for me. You know me. Mr. Biggs, I don't know you, blood. He said he used it on himself. She said, so it worked. Oh, it worked. And immediately when I proved it worked, because I'm Mr. Biggs, it shut the whole program. Fired, son. Soon as they figured out it worked. According to him, he said it worked. Right? He also said they fired him soon as they figured out it worked. But his only specimen was him. Oh, Dr. Bird, I don't mean to laugh. I'm just messed up in the head like that, bro. It worked. I assure you. Where's your evidence? They took it all. I was fired immediately after suggesting that I was God. Oh, okay. Thank you for that, Dr. Bird.
and Michael Persinger. And in addition to what I just said, at the theoretical level, we showed that in imaginary time and space, in hyperspace, electromagnetics results in solitons, and that only quantum events can occur in small neurons in your brain. And that phase conjugate fields, which create scalars, can cause profound effects in living systems. At the time, I thought that the shutdown of the project was just stupid on the part of the government, but I enlisted the help of Senator Claiborne Pell, who, as a senator, could go and dig into classified projects and find out that, indeed, well, first he told me there was nothing there, and then a year later he called me into his Senate office building. He said, can't give you the details, but your project went dark. So I have pretty good authority that it really did go dark. One central part of the project was the evaluation by Ross 80 of the Light of Four. The CIA had obtained the device through Canada, along with a photo showing a whole room full of people asleep in an audience with the Light of Four machine sitting on the podium. It was touted and patented in the US as a medical device that emitted extremely low frequency magnetic fields, acoustic signals in the form of clicks, heat, and electric fields. It was constructed in the 1950s. While it was in Dr.
Yo, this is crazy. Peace, Eastside. Peace. Yo, this is so crazy, right? Because I always tell you guys, whatever they letting us know they got now in 2024, they already have for 10 years. But it turns out they ain't have stuff for 10 years. They telling you stuff they have for 50 years. 50 years. They had a machine that could put you to sleep. Bananas. Put you to sleep, beloved. Now, if you just logging in earlier, we learned about delta waves in certain states of consciousness. I mean, we learned about brain waves, not delta waves. There's like 5 different categories for brain waves, right? There's delta, theta, alpha, beta, gamma, right? And as we will learn, and as he is saying, there are devices and technology out there. They figured out how to synchronize electromagnetic signals with your brainwave, which they call low frequency, electronically low frequency, ELF brain signals. And they synchronize them to induce the expected result, right? And then they can change the frequency. So if they want you to be sleepy, then they put you to sleep. But he might go into it, and even if he doesn't, I'm going to go into it. I'm going to show you how they use this on your emotions. Oh, the technology is out there. They have the technology. They have technology that can map. It will first connect to the brainwave, and depending on what frequency it is, they can automatically see this is connected to this emotion, right? And what they did is they filled up a database of all this neurological information, and then they reverse engineered it to induce. Now, instead of just saying, okay, this is what emotion you're feeling, and we could tell that because of the information we're getting. Now they don't reverse engineered it, and now they use it to induce. Yes, this information, this technology is out there. So if they want you to be happy, then that's what they will induce. If they want you to be sleepy, that's what they will induce. And you guys know the rest of the emotions, right? I don't have to really go into it. You see where this is going? Okay, we'll get there when we get there. Let's keep going.
Dr. 80's lab at the VA hospital in Riverside, putting cats and rabbits into stupors, a tradesman passed by the lab, confronted Ross, asked him where he got that brainwashing machine. Ross explained it was a medical device from the USSR. The tradesman said that he and his buddies had been brainwashed by an identical device during the Korean War in a POW camp. While they were under the influence of the device, questions and answers were read to them. When the Red Cross arrived to check on them, they asked questions, and the prisoners blurted out answers to the questions and wondered where the answers came from. If a technology was developed in the 1950s that worked to put people asleep at a distance and had a hypnagogic effect on them, it is reasonable to assume that it was refined and the devices made smaller. Psychodiagnosis and psychocorrection. I found it interesting that the only project I was ever involved in that had to do with anything classified was remote viewing. And yet, once I got in, started listening to the people in the TI area, I started noticing that I was also peripherally associated with a whole bunch of other stuff that I never put together as pieces of a puzzle before. 10 years ago or so, I was asked to be the chief engineer for a project that was co-sponsored by the Human Potential Foundation in Northern Virginia and Chris and Janet Morris. Chris and Janet Morris brought 2 Soviet scientists to Washington, D.C., and then to the medical school at the University of Kansas to demonstrate a technique they called psychodiagnosis and psychocorrection. Although it involved the use of electrodes attached to the scalp, technologies have been developed to allow remote monitoring and intervention to occur. Basically, Dr. Igor Smirnov and his engineer had developed a very sophisticated computer program. It took a 486 computer several hours to analyze the data they collected in 20 minutes, to look at brainwave responses to emotionally charged words. The computer generated a 3-dimensional plot that related several variables, resulting in a diagnosis of what was the person's root cause of a problem. For example, if a man treated women badly, the cause might be hatred of his mother. The subject's brainwave response to words such as mother, love, hate, women, and so forth would be very telling. It was attached to a 32-channel EEG machine, and as they watched a TV display of what appeared to be random serial words flashing on the screen. Around the screen was a circle of LED lights flashing at an ELF rate. When I asked what they were for, the answer was, quote, to focus the attention to the screen. Sure, it was just like when I asked Dr. Smirnov, who claimed not to speak English, till I asked him a point-blank question in English, what the 3 orthogonal canisters were above the subject's head in a photo he passed around at the medical school of Kansas. He said, smiling, "You come to Russia, we show you." Once diagnosed, an affirmation was constructed to change behavior. The affirmations were not direct. For example, if it was determined that a problem was driving a person's behavior had to do with their hating their mother, the affirmation would be in the form of, it's okay to hate your mother, not don't hate your mother. This would reduce the stress associated with hating one's mother. The affirmation was converted into a sound file in the computer, turned upside down, 180 degrees phase shift in amplitude, and reversed. It was then embedded in white noise and played to the subject as a subliminal. The 180-degree phase shift.
Now let's go back, right? Now go back to Adam Lanza. Is that how you say his name? How you say his name, Splashing? Adam Lanza? The white kid with the bulging eyes. There's no way to Google him and him not have the same exact expression on his face. Did y'all really think that they would? So I'm going to get a little bit into conspiracy theory, but it's going to make logical sense, right? But let's use it on myself. Why would I think that they would ever stop using the MK Ultra program? Which, by the way, let me show you something. I want to show you something. I made show you something. Not that, not that. If this is the one? Yep, this is the one. Let me show you something. Come on. Hold on 1 second. I hate when it does that. It just disappeared on me. Just disappeared on me. Give me a second. Where'd you go? There it is, right here. Alright, I don't know why I did that. That's crazy. Alright, let me bring it back over here. Cool. Let me show you this. Let me blow it up for you. Oh, okay. Cool. Now, I got this from www.intelligence.senate.gov. The reason I'm telling you that is that it's a government document that you yourself can get. You don't have to call me a conspiracy theorist or any of those crazy things associated with the truth because you're going through cognitive dissonance. Here's a joint hearing before the Selected Committee on Intelligence and the Committee on Health and Science and Research, United States Senate, 95th Congress, 1977, August 3rd. Project MK Ultra, the CIA's program of research and behavioral modification. Now it's 173 pages long, so not that. I mean, they keep repeating the same thing, but some of these names I'm familiar with, and some of these names you're familiar with that were on the Intelligence Committee of understanding the exact capabilities of what was going on, right? Because this was a black kind of research, right? Like a lot of these senators were not in the fold or had no idea what was going on. And I know this because that is what is when you read this here report, it's like, yo, y'all didn't even know what was going on. They had way more questions than anything. Like, yo, explain this. I heard this. You could do this. And what does it mean? Where's this money going? Y'all had no idea what was going down. Now, my question where I was going with this is, you really expect me to believe that they stopped working on mind control because you no longer wanted them to work on mind control? When in the past has that happened? Well, let's start with the Iran-Contra scandal just to prove my point, right? Did they not? Did Congress know? Did they not say, yo, we are no longer funding whatever you got going down there with the Contras and Guatemala and all that? We're not doing it, right? Did America stop? Or was America divided into its own little, you give people power, but this, when you say government, that's a lot to control. So do we really think that every piece of government is being monitored correctly? Obviously not, because them boys didn't even stop. They got worse, if anything. Because you said you wasn't going to fund them, they started dealing drugs to get what they wanted. This is the truth. It's all documented. This happened, right? That's only one example. Second example, you said, what are we dealing with? MK Naomi or MK Delta? Let's find out since we're here. MK, that's right, MK Delta, CIA. MK Naomi is the code name for a joint Department of Defense CIA research program in the 1950s through the 1970s. Unclassified information about MK Naomi, especially related. Okay, I want you to tell me what it did. Is what I wanted, because one of those was the ones where they were working on biological weapons, right? And my point is that America the Congress said no more. We don't want you working on gain of function, no biological weapons here. Did America stop, or did one Dr. Anthony Fauci just hire external labs, Chinese? Other than that, like, that's crazy. Out of all the laboratories you could probably choose, he chose the Chinese And I say that's not because I'm racist, because we're not on, as a nation, we're not on the greatest terms of the country, China, right? So that's just nuts to me. We're not supposed to be anyway, right? Not from all the hype that's going around about China, always making it seem like that, like they're our rival. If they were our true rival, I don't understand why you would pay them $10 million a year to do gain of function research that you was told we don't want you to do it. Those that's what you was told, right? So they stopped doing this, and I think at Fort Detrick, was that Maryland or was it Fort Bragg? I think it's Fort Detrick. They stopped doing it, and they sent it over allegedly. So those are two examples that's not conspiracy. This was one of them actually blew up in their face. The whole cocaine business was both of them blew up in our face. Who are we kidding, right? Except this, the last one, whatever. I'm not even gonna get to that. Um, so here we are now dealing with mind control. That the committee was like, I think we need to shut this down because you guys are using LSD, and anytime you research mind control, be careful of this because they always want to bombard you with all of this LSD talk, right? So you leave this research feeling like you really tapped into something, right? Like, oh, okay, I know what that's all about. It's when they use LSD on a lot of the volunteers and you don't know what you're talking about fully because it wasn't only LSD that they was working on. What we're talking about today and what Dr. Bird is talking about is part of still the MK. That whole there was I found out there was like 140 something sub programs underneath MK Ultra. Now the question is, do you think they just stopped these programs because the nice Congress people asked them to stop? Or do you think there's a possibility that they continued on with the work and had to live test it somewhere? They had to live test it somewhere. In any event, we will see, I will show you firsthand that they did live test it somewhere and it worked.
Shift and reversal made the affirmation more easily assimilated by the subconscious. Change occurs at the subconscious level before it occurs at the conscious level. Of equal interest was a computer game that was demonstrated where the subject would try to guess a random number the computer would select. A score was kept during 100 trials. Guessing would indicate a 1 in 10 chance of guessing the right number. However, some volunteers scored 30 out of 100. Then the computer would look at the guess compared with the next machine selection, and in some subjects, they scored much higher when their guesses were compared with the second number the computer randomly chose, proving the existence of precognition. The Russians said the KBG was interested in their technology, but they hadn't given it to them. At the University of Kansas, the staff was interested if the technique had been used to treat alcoholics. The response was, alcoholism is not a disease. People drink for many reasons. When we discover the underlying cause of drinking, we can make excessive drinkers stop. Maze. Anybody read the book Maze by Larry Collins? Came out about 1984. The book Maze by Larry Collins. You know who Larry Collins is? The author? Anybody ever read O Jerusalem? Is Paris Burning? They made movies of these. This is the Larry Collins. He contacted me.
That's why Dr. Bird had no friends. He's naming wild random books no one's ever read. Let's get back to this. We're gonna go back to that video, by the way, but I want to get into some stuff. right? That's Dr. Bird, by the way. If I had applause, I would give him applause. He's a true American hero. I don't know what medals of honor the government gave him, but we will give him his respect today because he contributed to power of the people, of us knowing, right? He didn't have to, he could have just said, yo, I'm gonna go sail off. I don't need this. And you don't need to know none of this. But he didn't do that. He done sat down with the cat lady and her friends, those two other people, and he poured out his heart in that hot, sweaty YMCA basement. And I, for one, am very appreciative. Thank you, Dr. Bird. All right. Let's get into microwave neurocommunication, right? Auditory perception. When the human brain is exposed to pulsed microwave radiation, within specific frequency ranges and power levels, individuals may perceive auditory sensations despite the absence of external sound sources, right? So this is kind of like a little bit going into what he was saying, where you can induce certain sounds or certain things into people's head. We're going to call it information, right? Because based off of the word pulsed, we could kind of come to the resolution that this is probably digital signals, and that we know that our brain itself can convert frequencies, whether analog or not, or continuous. We can convert them to digital because of the role that electricity plays in the process of our nervous system, right? If that makes sense. Binaural beats or isochronic tones. The idea is to synchronize brainwave patterns. Listen, I don't know who just got here, but we kind of went over binaural beats already in isochronic tones. We already went over this. Binaural beats or isochronic tones. The idea is to synchronize the brainwave patterns to induce a particular state of mind and potentially influence behavior. Now, he said he worked on non-lethal weapons technology. Here's two I want to mention. Long-range acoustic devices. While not strictly electromagnetic, long-range acoustic devices use highly directional sound waves to transmit messages or emit loud warning tones over long distances. They can be used for crowd control or communication purposes. Okay. The second one is microwave and radio frequency weapons. These technologies involve emitting direct microwave or radio frequency radiation to disrupt electronics, communication systems, or human psychology. Some designs aim to induce pain or discomfort without causing permanent harm. Now, you know what's crazy? Again, you hate to be a conspiracy theorist until you realize, yo, why I seen a movie about this, right? Who's seen The Kingsman, The Secret Service? If you have not seen The Kingsman, yo, almost anything that they're doing right now, they already made a book about or a movie about. It's out there. It is out there. In this particular case, though, it's crazy because the movie The Kingsman, The Secret Service, the guy goes into the church, right? And he's sitting down, and everyone in the church is pretty much peaceful. And then all of a sudden, and Samuel L. Jackson, this is how they throw you off, right? Because if you really do the knowledge to the movie, Samuel L. Jackson, in my opinion, is playing Bill Gates. Why do I say that? Well, his name is Richmond Valentine, right? And he's a wealthy, eccentric tech genius with a plan to save the world from climate change. That's who Samuel L. Jackson is playing in the Secret Service, Kingsman. Go watch it. Now, Valentine, check this out, plans to use a SIM card implanted in the people's phones to trigger a violent, uncontrollable rage, resulting in mass chaos and reducing the world's. That's crazy. I didn't even want to say that last part, right? I'm not giving the AI any type of help today to mess up my video. They get no help from me. Please share the video, right? We'll get to commercial in a second, though. Let's just stay focused on the fact that they made a movie about this. Now, when you watch it, what he does is he's in some remote location and then he starts to change the knob, right? He starts to turn the knob, which changes the velocity on the frequency on the people's cell phones. And because they're sitting right next to the cell phone, because they sitting right next, they got it in their hand or whatever, it immediately sends in what I expect to be a ELF, a electronically low frequency signal to their brain to synchronize with their brain to induce a certain behavior. But all of those other behaviors and emotions that I told you that it can induce relaxation, get rid of stress. And you're like, wait, if it could do that, what if I don't want it to do that? What if I wanted to make people rage and violent? Can it do that? Well, it could, but that's not what we do here. Yo, shut up. Shut up. I didn't ask what you do here. I said, can it be done? Well, it could, it could, theoretically. Yo, shut up. How in the world could it make me more relaxed but don't have the potential to make me enraged? Or some type of horny subject right in the middle of just walking across the street. You'd be using your little stun gun on me and I just turn into a horny maniac. Oh, so off to Bellevue for you, buddy. Beating off in the middle of the street is a crime. It is a crime. Nah, but it wasn't me. Somebody told me to do it. Oh, you're definitely going to Bellevue. Only to find out that as crazy as it sounds, they can actually do it if they wanted to. That's bananas. All right, let's get to this. Let's get to something called neurofeedback or biofeedback. Write these things down. You understand? Neurofeedback is a type of biofeedback that uses real-time displays of brain activity, like an EEG signal. Well, this is part of the brainwave manipulation as a weapon. Because if they have technology that maps your emotion to your cognitive state, right? And then they get, like I spoke about before, now they can see exactly what frequency that is and then reverse engineer it and induce it in you so they can either make you happy, make you excited, happy, sad, angry, scared. Let me ask you something. All these years we've been talking about hip hop music, right? Now I have to introduce something else to you, which is silent subliminal, the invention of the silent subliminal messages, which we're ultimately we're talking about right now, right? This patent, you can look it up. It was submitted by Oliver M. Lowerly. Lowerly? Is that how you say it? That's crazy. I don't know. Anyway, U.S. Patent 51597038A. Silent communication systems in which non-oral carriers in the very low or very high audio frequency range, right? Low enough to that will match with your brain waves, or in the adjacent ultrasonic frequency spectrum are amplitude or frequency modulated change with the desired intelligence and propagated acoustically or vibrationally. Now, let me stop right there because a lot of these words sound very complicated, right? And then you realize, wait a minute, they really had a whole phase of rap music that had mumbles. Like you just had to mumble. This is me picking up on the whole conspiracy theory thing where I'm like, wait a minute, was that a whole play? They never, like that. Of course, they don't want people to be intelligent. Because if they was intelligent, then they would know where to find it, not only find the knowledge, but when they get to the knowledge, is a better chance they're going to understand the knowledge. But anyway, let's get to this. Because it's everything they're saying, Dr. Bird has already said, right? I'm just reiterating it. I'm saying it the way it's written here. But really, he already said it. They can match, they can use technology to connect with your brain waves that will match whatever state is in through experiments, right? So they can see what your brain, what frequency exactly, what it looked like when you was sad, what it looked like when you was happy, what it looked like when you was enraged, happy, all the states. Then they've reverse engineered. They got that information out. Now, what if they want to put it in somebody? Can they do that? Is the technology there? Of course it's there. For inducement into the brain, typically through the use of loudspeakers, earphones, transducers, piezoelectric transducers, the modulated carriers may be transmitted directly in real time or may be conveniently recorded or stored on mechanical, magnetic, or optical media, listen, for delayed or repeated transmission to the listener. You know how many times I asked you why our music only got to make us feel like this, right? Everybody's always angry in our music. Angry, right? Is it because we like? Is it because our economics? Nah, it ain't because of economics. You figured something. A lot of these people they got the money. They out here doing whatever. They dealing drugs. They doing whatever for the money. They still upset. They still. Is it a possibility that there were messages in the music that you could not hear? Is what I'm saying. Obviously, there was messages in the music outside of the conscious message that he's spending the block shooting this, that, and third. He don't got no respect for women. Okay, blah 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 blah. We get that. This was actually tested, and I think I'm about to end. Is this the last year? the government actually tested this, and let me see. Hold on one second. Okay, here we go right here. Now, this is a lot of reading. So I'm going to try to take it from a point. I'll try to take it from right here, right? PSYOP radio systems in Operation Desert Shield. And basically, what they're doing is they're talking about how they had two tactics and strategies here. One was going to be the radio propaganda, right? But they don't let you know specifically that subliminal. Give me 1 second. That the silent subliminal technology was used in this. They don't let you know that specifically. But what they keep telling you as you read this is that they brought over the technology to broadcast messages through the TVs, through their TV channel and their frequency modulation FM radio channels. Now, some YouTubers, and I don't say it out of disrespect because I respect these YouTubers that I'm specifically the one I'm talking about, had suggested that during this war, I think it's the 1991, it was the 1991 Iraqi war, that the Iraqis, that the United States broadcasted this technology with embedded messages in the technology, right? Basically altering the behavior of whoever fell underneath it. And it made the opposing side feel like just giving up. And they gave up. Now I couldn't find, I'm gonna keep it real. I'm an okay researcher, but I could not find that any type of resources on that. So I don't know where those people got those sources from, but I came close enough. And guess what? What you could do is you could come to your own conclusion. But what I'm gonna tell you is the fact that this here document tells me the weapons they use. See, they didn't mention a lot of high tech weapons in this article right here. They didn't mention a lot of like any type of drones or automatic weapons or lasers. No, 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 no. The main thing they was mentioning was propaganda techniques and equipment to make propaganda. That's all they talked about during this whole thing. So it was kind of like, damn, y'all won the war on. That was your plan, first of all? I'm going to read some of this for you, obviously. I just want us to look at some of the titles too. Initial active duty PSYOP deployments. I'm not even going to start there because it's so much. There's a lot. It's not even going to make good sense. Then I'm going to start here. Getting PSYOP equipment and teams in place. After Iraqi invasion, radio was identified as a key medium to reach target audiences. On 16 August 1990, the Commander-in-Chief, U.S. CENTCOM, General Norman Swarovkov Jr. Validated the requirement for the multiple radio transmitters, although it took months for them to arrive in theater and to be in place. The 3 radio systems deployed during Operation Desert Shield and operational during Desert Storm were the transportable AM transmitter, 10 kilowatt, the PSYOP air mobile dissemination system, and the 50 kilowatt PSYOP radio system. Sidebar for the system features and locations. Okay. So I think the middle one, this PANDAS, this PSYOP air mobile dissemination system, is the one they use to print out leaflets. They was on some old school printing out leaflets. Now, they made it seem like their leaflets was very effective, right? But I'm going to keep it real with you. I don't think it was the leaflets, even though in this particular article, they don't mention the silent subliminal technology, but they keep praising the fact that they needed these radios. I think we can deduce to the fact that, okay, you definitely was using the subliminal messages over these megaphones. But I'm trying to read while I'm talking so that I don't want to read a whole bunch of stuff because some of the stuff is boring, right? It's just talking about the earth that they chose, the soil, and why they chose this because it had water running around it and they needed it as a medium. I don't want to get into that. I mean, I understand it, but broadcast operations. The audio controller shelter remained in Idea, and the studio shelter was used for storage. Radio dissemination equipment. Let me. Here goes another. I'm about to go, but here goes another paragraph. Leaflets were expected to be another major aspect of the overall PSYOP effort. As previously mentioned, the PDB print elements were located in Kiev. These included 2 medium print systems and a modular print system. I mean, I'm not going to read all of this, but as I read it, it does appear that the army had 2 strategies: to use their radios to talk to the enemy and to use leaflets and write propaganda on them and then just spread out thousands of leaflets for the people to basically read, and it would brainwash the people. This tactic has been used before, right? We did 3.5 hours. That's good. That's good. You understand? I don't make it too long. we talked about. Hold on. Okay, so let's walk away with. I want to walk away with some points. Everything we learned about with brain entrainment. I want you to follow up by yourself on that. What else? Auditory perception. Auditory perception. I want you to follow up on that, right? Because when you combine auditory perception with silent subliminal presentations, that is how you can hide a message inside of audio and the person will never even know that that message is there. They almost won't even hear it, right? So that being said, as we walk away, I had kindly asked everyone to donate $10 to the cause. Right now, if you scan that with your phone, even I'm talking about people even watch this on the replay. Everybody. I'm asking for a $10 donation for today's program. Now, I made this one because everybody doesn't have Cash App, but mostly everybody has a debit card. So what they do is they just this way, if you scan that, you can put in whatever amount. This is a highly encrypted payment gateway and trusted. It's called Stripe, right? It accepts all credit cards and debit cards. And no, I don't see your information. It's not just me out here using Stripe. It's all type of Fortune 500 companies that accept Stripe as a payment gateway, right? Because you can use any kind of card. Now, if you do have Cash App, there's the Cash App right there, right? So the work does take a good amount of time to put in to get this done. And the main thing I wanted you to walk away with, right? Because we could talk conspiracy theory all day long, but it's totally different when we sit down and have an articulate conversation and we figure out, like, wait, I knew it could be done, but now I know it can be done. It just hit different, right? I thought it could be done before, but now I actually understand how it could be done. So that being said, it's Memorial Weekend. You understand? You guys, you go out, have a blessed one, be safe, obviously. Appreciate y'all. I'm gonna keep learning. I'm gonna keep stay in the books and keep bringing y'all different information and content. All right. Enjoy the rest of your 2 days off. If you do got 2 days off, you understand? God bless you. Have a great one. Peace out. Saladin.